bespoke radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Yeah, man, how you doing? Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. That's right. Yeah, what a great show we've got lined up tonight. Today is Wednesday, February 22nd. 53 days into the new year, just 312 days left, and I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black. We are live from a bunker somewhere in downtown Burbank, California. For KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the Planet, I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? Yeah, wow, been waiting for this show for a long, long time. Tonight, it's Ouija night. Or is it Ouija? Ouija? We're going to find out. Because it is Ouija night right here with Karen Dahlman. She's live with us here in Southern California. Tomorrow night, this is another Fader Night with John Rappaport. The call-in number is 323-825-5045. Yes, we're going to take your Ouija calls. Or is it Ouija calls tonight? 323-825-5045. You can follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. That's what you want to do. Hashtag F2B is the sandbox. Yeah, it's already lit up tonight. I'm going to get to that in a second. Oh, who posted the Ouija cup? I've got one of these. Very cool. Mine's black, though. And I left it out of the bunker. Okay? I don't want it... I don't want it to attract anything tonight on the show. Oh, man. I'm just a little nervous, right? A little nervous. Been wanting to do this for a long time, and I was watching some of the tweets right before the show going, hey, dude, man, really? You sure you want to do this? And I went and watched. I'm going to talk to Karen about this in a little bit. But I went and watched some Ouija videos on YouTube. And just to get into the spirit, man, those are some crazy. There is thousands and thousands and thousands of Ouija videos. You should go and check some out. And, inspire a really good nightmare is what those do. But go check them out after the show tonight. Follow us on Facebook, YouTube. Everything is Fade to Black, J Church Radio. You know what to do. Follow, like, and subscribe over on the website. The sandbox, of course, is hashtag F2B on Twitter. In TweetDeck, we don't bite. Oh, man, look at that. Jordan, the Flying V gift always gets a retweet. Look at that planchette. That planchette, where did that come in from, Queen Babylon? Yeah, here we go. Yeah, I like the Ouija cup, too. I'll retweet that. Okay, let's get this show cracking. Any questions or comments during the show tonight, use hashtag F2BQ in Twitter, and everything will line up for me to my left. Okay? Here we go. Email is jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. Very simple. I will get to as many of the emails as I can during the show. And don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. We have over 600 archive shows, custom apps, Apple, Android. Just go to the Apple Store, go to Google, and download your apps. We have them for every platform, by the way. I think we even have a Kindle app. All right, all for just $2 a month. JimmyChurchRadio.com. Click on the podcast banner and help support the show. And don't forget to go to all of our sponsors. Right before the show tonight, I did the rounds, right? I did all of my Life Change tea drops and my moringa, my pine bark, my moringa, and my olive leaf extract, and, of course, my vitamin C. Did those, followed up with a nice, strong shot of River Moon coffee. Go support all of our sponsors. Click. All of the promo codes for discounts, free shipping, everything that you need there is in the banners. And, of course, Studio Dome and their Fade or Not sound system. Everything is there. Everything you need is in those banners. So go, click, and support the show. All right. Contact in the Desert is coming up May 19th through the 22nd in Joshua Tree, California. Tickets and info are over at jimmychurchradio.com. The banners are there. Click. All the info that you need, tickets, lodging, all of it is there. It's a very, very complete website. This year, Contact in the Desert, they try to expand. It's such a big show, but they try to add variety to the speakers and return speakers and so forth. And this year, yes, George Norrie is doing all of his events. He's going to be there, but we have Graham Hancock. Jacques Vallée is going to be there this year. Robert Bivol, Robert Schock is going to be there. Wilcock, Corey Good. Corey's going to be over at Coast to Coast with me this Friday. You don't want to miss that. Jim Mars. Jim Mars is, can I announce this? I'm going to do it tomorrow, just to be safe. Giorgio Tsoukalos is going to be there. Richard Dolan, Andrew Collins, Linda Moulton Howe, Whitley Strieber, David Serrata, and another 30 or 40 researchers and authors are going to be there. Okay, now we are giving away passes. There is a banner for this over at jimmychurchradio.com. And I want to be clear to all of the Fadernauts. There is one entry per person. Just go to the website, click on the contest banner. It's all taken care of from there. But the pass is non-transferable, right? You can't win it and sell it. You can't win it and give it away to somebody else. If you cannot attend and you win, just let us know, all right? And then we'll draw another name. All right, so good luck to all of you, and thank you. All right, the Fadernauts are the best. Let's get this show cracking because big announcement today. It just we just got it posted up. The TalkStream Live Power 50 list has been released, and I have it right here in front of me. So I'm going to toot your horn because you Fadernauts are what has done this. But here it is: TSL Power 50. The 50 most influential and most listened to streaming talk show host in the nation for 2016. And number 1, Michael Savage. 2, Rush Limbaugh. 3, Laura Ingraham. 4, Sean Hannity. 5, Mark Levin. 6, Glenn Beck. 7, Hugh Hewitt. 8, Alex Jones. Number 9, Howie Carr. Number 10, George Norrie. Very, very cool. It's a solid top 10, right? So let's go down the list a little bit. Clyde Lewis comes in at number 17. Excellent, Clyde. You moved up too. And so let's go down the list. We have the Dana Show. We have Imus at number 18. Clyde Lewis inched out Imus. Pretty cool. And Michael Medved, Larry Kudlow, and Larry Elder, right, at number 23. And there's Lars Larson at number 27. And then 28, Steve Deese. Pretty cool. Number 29, yours truly, Jimmy Church, right there. We cracked the top 30. Last year, I think we were number 33. I think the year before that, we were number 38. We cracked the top 30 this year at number 29. And we did that because of you. All of you, the Fadernauts. Okay, this is a very serious list. It's comprehensive, and it is done off of server count. That's how this list is compiled, off of server count. That's it. The computer generates the numbers, prints out the list, and they release it. And we did it. Number 29. So thank you, all of you Fadernauts. I mean, I'm shocked. I'm happy. Shocked, right? You know, that's a nervous thing to have happen, but it's there. You know, I didn't know if it'd be number 34. What if we dropped off the list? What if we were number 49? Right? So there you go. All right, let's move on. And pretty cool. Pretty good news. All right. Where am I? NASA held their news conference. I'm going to talk about that in just a little bit. The details of all of those findings are now out. And I have a couple of thoughts. So before we get to that, let's just say happy birthday to Drew Barrymore. Today she is 42. And she will always make the list for one movie. Well, actually two. But one movie, her first, Cat's Eye. A Stephen King movie. Cat's Eye came out in the mid-'80s. She was like 4 years old. One of the great movies of all time. Cat's Eye, Drew Barrymore. But she also makes the list because of Donnie Darko. Great performance, but it was her introducing Cellar Door. That's right, Cellar Door. And if you don't know what that's all about, then you haven't watched Donnie Darko. Cellar Door. Our dead guy's birthday today, Steve Irwin, 1962 to 2006, died at the age of 44. Yes, the crocodile hunter. And on the 4th of September, back in 2006, Irwin was on location at Bat Reef near Queensland, taking part in the production of a documentary series called Ocean's Deadliest, when he approached a 6.5-foot stingray from behind. He was in chest-high water. They were taking a break. So he thought he'd jump in the water and shoot this stingray for his daughter's project that she was working on, right? And so there you go. And the stingray went berserk. According to the incident's only witness, they said all of a sudden the stingray propped up on its front and starting stabbing wildly with its tail. Hundreds of strikes in just a few seconds. Irwin initially believed he only had a punctured lung. However, the stingray's barb pierced his heart, causing him to bleed to death. They tried to save him, but he was pretty much dead at the scene. By the time he got to the shore, he was pronounced dead. Happy birthday, Steve Irwin, the crocodile hunter. Made all of that stuff popular, didn't he? Yeah, there he is right there. Thank you for that, Jordan. That'll get a retweet. Dude was cool. We all like Steve Irwin. On this day in history, OTD. In 1990, it went down. With the benefit of hindsight, if you think about this, there might be a few Grammy Awards that the National Academy of Recording Arts and Sciences probably wish they could take back. But there was only one that they actually did. The Best New Artist Grammy that was awarded to Milli Vanilli. On this day in 1990. There you go. Fate or fact. There are now more states that have completely legalized the Mary Jane, the marijuana, than states that completely ban it. Now, how cool is that? Tonight is Ouija night. We've got Karen Dahlman in here. I am completely overwhelmed with this show tonight. I cannot wait, and all of you are so spoiled. I have her new book here, The Spirits of Ouija, and it's Ouija, by the way. I'm going to get clarification on this. 4 decades of communication. I've got the book here. You can get it, and we're going to talk about all of this in just a few minutes. Tomorrow night's another Fader Night with John Rappaport. The call-in number, of course, is 323-825-5045. I'll open up the phone lines in the last segment tonight. But before that, today, hundreds of police in riot gear and carrying nightsticks arrested several of the final Dakota Access Pipeline protesters remaining on federal land in violation of orders to vacate by the governor. Now, most of the 200 to 300 protesters who remained at the encampment walked out around 1 p.m. local time today. That was about an hour ahead of the deadline set by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers for the camp. They are officially closing it. Now, there's also a spring flooding threat that's coming in, too, as well. So the camp had to be closed. Now, enforcements, this is what's incredible. Enforcements included units of the Wisconsin State Troopers and Morton County officers. And there were a lot of witnesses that were there from the National Lawyers Guild. They were observing it. There was Unicorn Riot, which is an independent media collective. They were there. Well, police ended up, arresting what turned out to be 9. Okay. The reports were a little shaky coming out of there today, but they said that the police regrouped following several arrests, returning to formation opposite protesters that were on the road. Remaining protesters anticipated them rushing at any moment. There was a live feed on Facebook that I did see today. And then several minutes after that, the police backtracked their position, initially seeming to leave room for possibly a backup of vehicles, to arrive. Instead, with a little sunlight left and an announced cleanup of the land scheduled for Thursday morning, they backed up, and the veterans aligned with the protesters, a small group of veterans, and tried to advance their own line, keeping a distance, between them and the police. And then they eventually gave up in the darkness. Now, all of this sounds like the police were dealing with hundreds of protesters, and there was hundreds of arrests, and it was a confrontation and so forth. But the real numbers of protesters that were on the streets were between 1 and 2 dozen. Now, there wasn't any need for this kind of show of force, and I'm glad that it was broadcasted out. It appears to all be over, okay? And to have it end like this, I have my thoughts. But between 50 and 75 people still remain at the site. But police don't plan any more actions for today. But here's the deal. What was once a bustling makeshift city is now a largely abandoned garbage pit. Teepees and yurts and thousands of sheets of plywood and tents, kerosene and propane stoves litter everything. There's diesel and gasoline generators, food, clothing, cars are still there, and mountains of human waste. Right? And this used to be a pristine floodplain that cattle and bison and buffalo would roam on at the Standing Rock Sioux Reservation. And that part I'm not cool with. And the reason for that is this. Was it all in vain? Right? This garbage dump that is left behind, is it all in vain? Well, I don't think so. But I am sure that it may not seem that way right now. Not only to you, but to the protesters who stayed until the bitter end. Sure, and I get that. I really, really do. It's a heartbreaking end to this standoff. But there is the bigger picture that I brought up 2 weeks ago. And I don't want this to be in vain. If we are, this is pasture land and grazing land for buffalo and bison and wildlife that has been trampled and left behind. And if you think about all the kerosene and the human waste and the garbage and what's been left behind, that the very pollution that we were talking about, the contamination of the river, think about the runoff that's about to happen here if this flood comes in. That just goes into the river. Not cool, right? So if we're going to put up with all of that, we got to make sure that none of this was in vain. So what I brought up 2 weeks ago is, where is the oil going? Now, I've gotten the email. I've spoken to Danny Sheehan about this, as you know. And it appears that the oil is going to be exported. Most of it's going to go to China. And I have gotten repeated emails about this confirming it, by the way, from some of you out there. Thank you for that. But if the oil is going to be exported for profits only seen by big oil and nothing benefiting, American citizens or the Standing Rock Sioux Reservation, that's not cool. It's not going to be refined and burned up in our gas tanks and reduce the price of gasoline and oil in this country and our burden on oil imports. So that's not cool. And that's what we need to make sure that this gets heard loud and clear, to make sure that the protests were not in vain and meant nothing. Think about this for a second. So I'm going to stand on the soapbox over the next few months, and I am going to make sure. I'm going to make sure that the media knows about this. I'm going to make sure that the White House knows about this, that we are fully aware of what they've done. This was done in the interest of profits and shareholders. Has nothing to do with America First, us, those Indians, or everything else. And I'm going to make sure that it wasn't done in vain. I need your help. Let's keep this vocal. Let's just don't let this go away. It's too easy to jump into the next news cycle, the next thing, and the next big thing that happens in 2 weeks, and Standing Rock and what went down there gets forgotten. And the oil companies win. The oil gets exported and gets burned up in some other country. They profit. And you and I, all of us, lose. It's not cool. All right. Astronomers, the big announcement happened today. And let me get to this. The announcement that astronomers have found at least 7 Earth-sized planets orbiting the same star, 40 light years away, was published today in the journal Nature, and the findings were also announced at the big news conference at NASA headquarters in Washington. Well, the discovery outside of our solar system is rare because the planets have the winning combination of not only being similar in size to Earth, all temperate, meaning they could have water on their surfaces, and potentially support life. The 7 exoplanets were all found in tight formation around an ultra-cool dwarf star called TRAPPIST-1. Estimates of their mass also indicate that they are rocky planets, rather than being, gaseous giants like Jupiter and so forth. 3 planets are in the habitable zone of the star, known as TRAPPIST-1e, F, and G. And they're suggesting now that they may even have oceans. Pretty cool, right? Well, TRAPPIST-1F in particular is the best candidate for supporting life. It's a bit cooler than Earth, but it could be suitable with the right atmosphere and enough greenhouse gases. Other information coming out of the news conference I don't want to get into now. I'll talk about this more on a later date. But these things are, and by some indications, closer to Mercury is to our sun, right? But the dwarf star is cool enough that it's a different situation. But you would have a red sun. Yeah, that's pretty cool. But more on that in a bit. But I got into some fact-checking here. And this is what I found interesting. How many exoplanets has Kepler discovered? Do you have any idea? Well, check this out. The Kepler mission, candidate planets, 4,696. Confirmed exoplanets, 2,331. The K2 mission, 520 candidate exoplanets. Confirmed, 145. Now, according to the data, we should have over, think about this, 2,000 live press conferences announcing these discoveries. Right? Had one today. We've had just a few. Most discoveries are hidden away in press releases, and unless you're looking for them like I am, you miss them all. Seriously, I'm sure that you're all a little shocked right now about how large the number really is. 2,500 confirmed. That is confirmed, with another 5,000 as backup. Those are crazy large numbers for sure, but it's only a little blip of the 500 billion stars that surround us right now. So why this big, hush-hush live press conference with the embargo of 1 p.m., no releases? What made it so special? Do you know what I hear almost every week on the radio when I drive around in the car? Right? I'm listening to KFI here in Los Angeles. I hear that. I will be driving down the road. It's like once a week. E.T., alien life. We're looking for alien life. We've got new radio signals. We've got more planets. We've got Dyson spheres, Mars. Jupiter's and Saturn's moons have oceans. And maybe teeming with alien life. It's been very consistent over the last year or so. Every single week, the alien life announcement, right? Well, look, NASA and Washington know something, and we know that they know that we know that they know something. And I think it's gotten to the point that they can't hide it anymore. One of these days, and I suspect it to be very soon, one of these pressers, one of these announcements is going to be the big one. And by that time, we will have heard it so many times that it's barely going to make an impact on us. And I think that's exactly what they are trying to do. They are achieving it. Think about it. Now, I'm not saying the importance of the big announcement will be diminished. Not at all. It would be the most dramatic, game-changing event in human history. It's the impact on us, the media. The announcement will end up being a soft blow because these constant announcements every single week about something and the possibility of it, and they continue, then when the big one comes, we're going to expect it. Think about that. This is Fade to Black. Tonight is Ouija night. And I can't wait. Karen Dahlman is here. Her book, The Spirits of Ouija. Or is it Ouija? Well, tonight we're going to find out. I'm going to open up the phone lines in just a little bit. 323-825-5045. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. I'll be right back with Karen Dahlman. You stay right there.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roasted to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Gobekli Tepe.
Hi, folks. In a world of GMO, genetically modified organisms, that is, chemicals, processed foods, and a healthcare system that's unraveling like a cheap suit, it's time to prepare. God created herbs, and herbs help man. Our body can heal itself, just sometimes we need assistance. You need some help? GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. Our mild detox is quite powerful with its unique blend of 8 different herbs. And if you're looking for more, our non-GMO supplements will help you with different needs you might have. Health should be a top priority. Take care of your health naturally. Log on to GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. Give your body a treat. Let the herbs do their thing naturally. Read all the testimonies on the website, GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. Sickness and viruses are like intruders, and herbs are like warriors. Let the tea work for you. That's GetTheTea.com.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Hi, this is Chase Klutsky with Fate Magazine Radio, and you're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station, where the Fader-Knots rock.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Manson. You're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can follow Karen A. Dahlman on Twitter. She's there. She's in the sandbox tonight, hanging out. Just got a little note here from Rita. Top 50, whatever. Talk to me when you crack the 25. She's right. Moving on. We got a whole year in front of us. We'll do it. Thank you again, Fader-Knots. All right, let's go. I am ready. Karen Dahlman received her BA and MA degrees from the University of New Mexico. From Karen's background and practice as a licensed and board-certified psychotherapist, professional counselor, and hypnotherapist in private practice, she writes about ways to personally transform into your greatest self. Within paranormal and metaphysical circles, Karen is known as a leading expert Ouijaologist. Is that right? Well, I'm going to find out. Since 1973, Karen has been directly communicating with her spirit friends via the Ouija board and through other means as well. She is a channel for a collective group of light beings of source wisdom who come forth to share the wisdom of the ages. Their divinely inspired messages help us discover our greatest joys and possibilities for living the life of our dreams through self-empowering choices. Of course, her website is right there at JimmyChurchRadio.com, CreativeVisionsPublications.com. And I would like to welcome for the first time for Ouija Night, Karen Dahlman. Karen, welcome to the program.
Hi, Jimmy. Thank you for having me.
Okay. What we have to do first, welcome, Karen. We've got to get the first-time guest disclaimer out of the way. So let's get that. It's an honor. So let's get that out of the way first, because I've got one basic question we got to get out of the way. And the disclaimer is this. It's just you and I sitting on my couch as friends, and where the conversation starts, it starts. Where it ends, but we're going to end as friends. Are you ready to go?
I'm ready to do it. Let's go.
Okay, let's start here. Ouija or Ouija?
That's the question. Well, it was originally made to be pronounced Ouija. However, because we've been saying it in our pop culture for so long as Ouija, it's acceptable now as part of our lexicon to say Ouija. You'll probably hear me throughout the night to say Ouija, and if you say Ouija, that's fine.
Okay.
Ouija, it's all good.
Okay. It's been Ouija my whole life. I have heard people say Ouija over the years, and I just blow it off going, they don't know what they're talking about, right? They're reading it wrong. They think they're reading it right, but it turns out I'm probably wrong. But I don't know. If I get tongue-tied, but I'm going to try to do Ouija for the rest because I want to be in the club. Okay.
Cool.
Okay. All right. Now, the book is incredible, and I was talking to you about this earlier today, and I want to start in a couple of areas here, and I want to tackle both of them before the first segment. So what I want to do first, and which I think is most important, is the interesting history of the Ouija board and how it came to be in, I guess the late 1800s, actually, if you think about it. Pop culturally, probably 1920 or so. So let's kind of start there, and then I want to get into how you got started in Ouija. So let's start with the history of it. Very interesting start of things here, and most people don't actually know where the Ouija board came from.
It's a very fascinating, interesting history, and I did include a little bit of it in the book because I think it's important to understand where from out of what movement this board came from, and that it really was developed in the United States. It's really cool to our history. Although Canada was also working on a version, but they were granted that patent to do that from the United States. So let me back up a little bit. In the mid-1800s, around late 1840s, 1850s, a big movement popped up in the United States, and it was known as the spiritualist movement. And these were the people that would have revivals and hold seances, and they would speak to the dead. Now, that movement really grew because several years later, a couple decades later, we had the Civil War. And so it just kept growing and growing in terms of people wanting to communicate with their deceased loved ones because there was such carnage in the United States because of the war. And it was just a way to be able to reach out and maybe get some closure or understand where their loved one is now. It was a scary time. And so the spiritualist movement kind of had some answers to those questions people had. Now, what's really fascinating about the Ouija board, there were other types of prototypes that were being developed around the country around the same time. But it happened, the first one that was really talked about in history in some of the older journals or old newspapers would happen in 1871. And this was described as two women who were able to use this card that had the alphabet written on it, and they had this pointer, like a planchette pointer, and their hands would sit on the planchette. And all of you out there who don't know what the planchette is, it's that piece that moves around the board, and your fingers tips are always on it. So it was moving, and somebody saw that and said, "What is this?" And they thought that was pretty cool. Well, after that, in 1876 and 1886, you started seeing these types of tools cropping up, very similar in how they were made, but slightly different in terms of how you used them, or maybe the apparatus involved. So when you say Ouija board was not invented until 1890, but in 1886. There was a company out there there was a toy company, and it was called the W.S. Reed Toy Company, and they created a board known as the Witch Board. And this is really interesting, Jimmy, is that Witch Board was given to President Grover Cleveland at his marriage.
He probably used it, too.
He said he wasn't going to consult it ever when he was in office, but he said, "Thank you for the gift."
There's probably one in the Oval Office right now. I'm sure of it. Sure of it. Okay, so that's interesting.
Very interesting. So, and then in 1890, some gentlemen, there's some discrepancy about who was really the original creator, although we think we know who it is now. But Elijah Bond was a lawyer who actually filed for a patent in 1890 with the United States Trademark and Patent Office. And this is really interesting, in order to get that patent, he had to prove to the patent officer something the patent officer asked him, and he had to prove it through the use of this board. He had along with him his sister-in-law, and her name was Helen Peters. Now, Helen Peters was a very gifted psychic in her own right. She probably didn't need a board. But she had her hands on the planchette with Elijah Bond, and the gentleman asked him to spell out his name. Now, they had never met this guy before, didn't know his name. And he said, if this thing can spell out my name, then I'll grant you this patent on the spot. Well, guess what? No way. Yes. It spelled out his name. The guy was flabbergasted and said, "This patent is yours. I'm getting out of here." He gave him the patent. And so it was a year later in 1891 that the patent was actually received. And that's when all the really cool stuff happened. And I know, Jimmy, in the book you read a lot about the different owners, the different partners, and who had it first. And, even Colonel Bowie of Bowie Knives was had a part of the ownership stake in the original Ouija company. It's really quite cool.
And the flip-flop, which I was talking to you about earlier, I thought that it was very interesting that it almost appeared to me like nobody wanted, or was, no, I'm saying this backwards. Nobody wanted to claim it. No, but they were willing to give up the claim so somebody else could have it. Right? Is that the best way to explain it?
I would say that's almost accurate. I wanted in the book to explain how it switched hands so much. And I think in the beginning, the story goes down to really two people. And these two people is either Charles Kennard or Mr. Reich. And these two people knew each other. But each one lays claim to who really created this Ouija board. Now, remember, there were other boards out there, but the trademark name, the only first trademark board was the Ouija board. And so they really both wanted to claim it. But Kennard was the one who hired Elijah Bond, the lawyer who went to the patent office. And that's why the patent was in Elijah Bond's name at first. And then he gave up his bond, or I should say, he gave up the patent. He signed it over to Kennard. And Kennard at that time had started a company called the Kennard Novelty Company, which created games. And so, but Mr. Reich said, wait a second, I came up with this idea. I had a board and I had a planchette that I created, and you took this from me. And Kennard said, no, I came to you because you're a cabinet maker. And I said, here's my idea. I showed it to you, and you started crafting them for me. So there was some feuds that went on there. And ultimately, Kennard ended up with the patent, and he was the one that his company was the first to make the original Ouija board. Yeah,
and it was so hard for me to wrap my mind around an attorney like Bond giving it up. What attorney does that, right?
Exactly.
I was blown away.
He signed it over, and so when you look at the story and start putting the pieces together, it's probably because Kennard hired him to go get the patent, and then he went ahead and signed it over to him. So I'm sure he got paid. There was some stake in it, but then Kennard took it over and had other members, I should say, partial owners of this company, investors. And that's where Colonel Bowie comes in with a few others. And they invested in this original Kennard Novelty Company, and then they started making it for quite a few years. But fascinating enough, there was a varnisher. Now, this is what people out there will know when you hear of the Ouija board. The original Ouija board. You hear of the name William Fuld. Well, William Fuld was a varnisher at the Kennard company that made these toys. They were actually a toy that made these games, and it so happened that he worked his kind of way up in the company. And when some of the owners sold their shares in the company, and Colonel Bowie was one of the last ones left with it with another gentleman. Colonel Bowie ended up at the end signing over his rights to the company over to William Fuld. And that's when William Fuld and his brother Isaac first took on the company and the Ouija board as it's named, and as the company was known as the William Fuld Company. And those two had a falling out, the two brothers, and William Fuld became the sole owner of the Ouija board at that time.
I wonder how many have been sold. I would suspect that it is as popular maybe as Monopoly, right?
Yes, in fact, William Fuld, their Fuld Company, had the Ouija board until 1966. And in 1966, Parker Brothers bought the Ouija trademark and bought the board from them. They started creating it, and their highest selling game at that time was Monopoly. You're absolutely right, Jimmy.
Yeah.
And by 1967, it outsold Monopoly. And sold 2 million copies in that first year of production with Parker Brothers.
Who would have thunk, right?
Crazy.
Yeah, and I tell the story. I've told it a few times, but I'll never forget. I was in Toys R Us with one of my daughters, and she holds up a pink little girl's version of the Ouija board, right? And I was like, well, put that back, right? I was like, a pink planchette. I don't know if it was a Barbie Ouija board or whatever it was, but it was marketed for little girls. And I flipped out, and I looked, and there was a whole stack of them right there in the aisle, and that blew my mind. And for a lot of different reasons, but certainly it's not a pink little girl's toy for a 4-year-old.
Well, definitely not for a 4-year-old, and we can talk about that. I don't think it's a game either, but if you can just see what they've done with the board over the years, and of course, when there's a popularity of the board in the early 1900s, and there were so many copycat companies that came out and created all different types of board, and those boards are called either spirit boards or talking boards, and most people call every single board of this nature a Ouija board, which is really not accurate because Ouija is a trademark name, but we all tend to call it like Kleenex. We call every single tissue a Kleenex. It's the same thing that happened. They had really taken over the parlors of the 20s and 30s, and it was really quite a movement of being able to use these tools. And back then, they were just a novelty item, and then they've always have been, and even to this day, Hasbro now owns the trademark to it. The Parker Brothers, they bought them, and they own now, and it's still marketed as a toy or game for 8 years or older.
Now, I wanted to ask you really quick, in reading, I want to be clear on something. In the naming, and there's also the Egypt connection here, too, as well, in the name, which is a pretty cool story, too. But the naming of the board, I want to make sure that I read this correctly. The naming of the board came from a spirit? Did I read that correctly?
It did. Okay, so what happened? This is really a cool story, you guys. All right, so Mr. Reiki, I mentioned earlier, he said he had a session with the board, speaking to a spirit, and they said, "What do you want to name the board?" And the spirit said, spelled out Ouija. And then he asked the spirit, "Well, what does that mean?" And the spirit then said, "It means luck, like good luck in Egyptian language." So now the other story is Mr. Kennard said he was hosting a session at his house. He had Mr. Bond there, the Elijah Bond, with his sister-in-law, Miss Helen Peters, the psychic, right? Right. They're sitting there using the tool, and it spells, they ask, "What do you want to be called?" And it spells out Ouija. And then at that moment, Miss Helen Peters, she pulls this locket from her neck and opens it up, and inside the locket it says, OUI, looks like a D, A, not a J. And they said, "Were you thinking about that?" She said, "Absolutely not." Now, what I didn't say in my book is Ouida, actually how you say it, Ouida, was the name of a pen name of a famous feminist writer at the turn of the 19th century. And so it wouldn't be uncommon for a woman who was aspiring to, strong woman leadership might carry around a picture of Ouida in her locket as her hero. Right. And so but the board said it was Ouija, spelled it that way, and they said, "What does it mean?" It said, "Good luck." So when the board got patented, it was patented under Ouija and Egyptian good luck board. Both names were used. Now going back to the Egyptian language, is Ouija an Egyptian word that means luck or good luck? No. Not that anybody's found. I knew you were going to bum me out. Okay. All right. I know. I wish. Maybe there's some weird spelling that, it's something that sounds like it, but no, that hasn't been proven to this point. Is it still patented, by the way? Is it still trademarked? Yes, it's still trademarked and patented, and Hasbro owns that now. And William, and they have the William Fold name. They have the Mysterious Oracle. They have several names, but they went back to using Ouija on the boards. They had switched around and used some other names on there, like the Mystifying Oracle, but they went back to Ouija. So the Ouija was verified through two independent sessions with the spirits. That's correct. Wow, that's fascinating. That's the story goes. That's fascinating. Okay, so that's the history. Very interesting. Were they always marketing this as a game? Was it always like that? Did they try to look at it as that, as opposed to a way to contact, the dead or the spirit world? It was marketed, it's created by toy companies. Right. It was created as a game. It was marketed as, and they would say these commercials they had in terms of print. They had print commercials. They would say, pretty much you can have a seance in a box for $1, whatever it was back then. You can do your own seances, and you could easily communicate with your deceased loved ones. And they really pushed that. And so when people bought it, they would pull it out after dinner, typically sit around in their parlor. They didn't have radio, internet, all that good stuff we have 100 years later plus. They just had, each other in the drawing room and their parlor. And so they would pull out the Ouija board and they would communicate with the deceased. It was very common. By the 1910s, 20s, 30s, a lot of people were using them as a fun thing, as a novelty thing again, as a toy, as a game. And they laughed at times. It was fun, but they also were more serious about it. And I've got to say, Jimmy, the fear wasn't there that we have today. There was, there's always a little fear if you're participating in a seance or like wondering what's going to happen. But the fear that we have today around it was not there.
Wow, where did the bad rap start? I mean, certainly it's got a bad rap today. There's just no doubt about it. There's a dark cloud over the Ouija board. But when did it start to kick off like that?
Yeah, and there will always be a bad rap under it because it's a enigmatic tool. We can't understand it. Gosh, there is a history, and you can go back as far as the early 1900s where people said they used the Ouija board and because the Ouija board told them to do something and they did it, like commit a crime or a violent act. That's been going on forever. But where it really took a turn was in 1973, December 26th. Now, I must say, I want everybody to hear this. I got my board on December 25th, 1973, a day before. Oh. And what happened on the 26th, I think you all know, The Exorcist movie came out. Spooky. And the Ouija was used. Now, the book had come out a few years earlier, but it was when the movie came out, the fear started. And Hollywood are so smart. They're great at marketing in terms of what they can do. They took what was happening in our culture that people were afraid of and starting to put it into the movies. And that really, took off. And it brought this tool into the out of the parlors and now into the dark. It made it a fear-based tool, and it's really stuck ever since.
Has there been any verifiable deaths attributed to a Ouija session or the board?
When you say verifiable, we can't prove if that person was crazy to start with or had some other kind of delusions or other issues going on. Right. But we will say this. People do say the Ouija board told them to do it, to kill somebody, to hurt somebody, to cause a crime.
So is that is that like in law school? The Ouija defense.
Right. My left hand made me do it.
Right.
My left hand did. Right.
I never even thought about that.
It's crazy, and you can research this stuff. There's information out there in the net, and I know some people who do a lot of this research on that and present it at different conferences. I've heard some of it before. My approach really with the Ouija has been, the positive side of the Ouija. Although I don't discount or deny this other side of the Ouija. I do think it's important to look at all facets of this amazing tool.
I've done this a few times over the years. I did it again today. I couldn't help myself. But I went and watched a bunch of, YouTube videos, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I know you've seen them, too.
Yeah.
And they're pretty incredible. They are. Obviously, some are just, set up and are comical. But pretty frightening to watch. Now, that's part of the bad rap, right? You search Ouija on YouTube, and you're going to see thousands and thousands of these sessions. But my question that I have for you is, some of them, a lot of the planchette is rapid fire, right? Right, and then something bad happens. Is that a real example of a session with a couple of experienced Ouija players that you can get the planchette moving that fast?
Okay, so usually it takes some time to do that. I'm one of those rapid fire, I can use the planchette really quickly, and there's some others I know who I've developed friendships with because there's this group of us who really use it on a positive level. So yes, it can move quickly, and for a lot of people in the beginning, it moves quite slowly. And I find that if people work in partnerships, the time it takes to use this tool will usually speed up. It'll be a little quicker for them, and then the planchette can start moving quickly. It really depends on how you use this tool. There really are no rules to this tool. And just in fact, on the back of the box and in the beginning on the back of the board, they just basically said, this is what it used to say in the old days. And even when I got it in the 70s, I guess that's the olden days too. I'm dating myself. But on the back of the box, it said, Sit across from your partner, preferably a male and female. Place your hands lightly onto the planchette. And now ask your questions. I was like, what? And why does it have to be male and female? So I thought you had to have male, females. I thought, oh my God, I got to get one of my brothers to do this with me. And so for many years, I did it with just my brother, not realizing it could be, 2 women, 2 men, whatever. And I finally started experimenting with that and realized I could do it with any friend. I wanted to. It could be male or female. But yeah, so there's no rules. There's no real directions about it. So people create their own. And what I've seen is that people create their own ways of even using the board. I know people who use just their finger. Forget the planchette, forgo it, put it aside, and take their finger and let the spirits move their finger to the different letters. I know people who move so quickly, you don't even see it really, you can't even see it spelling, and they just pretty much speak what's being, you probably saw that.
Right, and you have to videotape a lot of that because you have to go back and watch.
You do.
Because you have to go and take notes and figure out what was actually said and that it was spelled correctly. Okay. Now we're going to hit a break here in 2 minutes. What I wanted to clear up really quick was yes and no. Does that differentiate the Ouija board from spirit boards? When did that get added and the significance of that?
Well, yes and no was always a part of the original Ouija board. It wasn't always a part of all the other boards. And goodbye was typically on them. So you'll see, I have a lot of really old boards. My oldest board is 1892 circa. So, and my other next oldest is 1902. But they all have yes, no. They all tend to have goodbye. And then talking boards, spirit boards uses a combination and different ways of saying the same thing. And so really you're going to see yes and no on them. You're going to see letters, and you're going to see the alphabet, and you're going to see numbers. And that's typically what you're going to see. And the symbols could change on the board as well.
Is this, we've got 45 seconds. Do you feel that the Ouija board is nearly scientific proof of a connection to communication with the other side?
No, I could never say that. It can't be scientific proof, but we will get into some stories where we did the blindfold experiment, and there's some other things that happened that you can look up. But listen, is it the Ouija board, or is it something else that's happening?
Right. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Well, maybe I'm pushing you too hard here. Okay. How about do you feel that there is an absolute connection to the other side where we can communicate?
I believe 100% with my experiences of 43 years. Actually, I'm going on my 44th year. Yes, for me and my experiences, 100% yes.
Well, you look 29. That's all. That's what's most important here. Let's take a break. Our guest tonight, Karen Dahlman. It is all Ouija all the time. Now, when I come back, I've got to start off here. I've got to go with Zoso. Okay, so we're going to start off there. And then we'll see where we end up. Our guest tonight, Karen Dahlman. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black, Power 50, number 29. I'll be right back.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
Hello, I'm Kat Deely, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to jimmychurchradio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. Yes. We are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring 2 Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hardshell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The 2 full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129, and use the promo code JCRTWS, and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Tepe.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies.
I was diagnosed with congestive heart failure. I went from being able to work 14, 16 hours a day with no problem to where I could barely walk a block to the store. I went on to the phytonutrients about 6 months ago, and within a couple of months, my medical doctor had cut my prescriptions down in a little bit smaller dosage. The next time I went back a month later, I walked into the doctor's office and he says, "My gosh, what's happened to you? You don't even look like the same person." He looked at my legs and the swelling had gone down. My blood pressure was down. The venous stasis ulcers that I had had on my legs for the last 4 or 5 years because of the poor circulation were all healed, and I'm feeling far better.
The new challenge will allow you to receive 2 months of Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies free. And we'll even ship them to you free. Call now for details. Call 1-800-246-8751. Or go online to balanceofnature.com. Use promo code TALK.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. Oh man, it's all Ouija. All night long. Our guest tonight, Karen Dahlman. Her book is The Spirits of Ouija. And I'm assuming, Karen, you can get this at your website?
Yeah, you can get it at my website or you can get it at Amazon.com.
Okay, simple enough. Everybody go check it out. Great book, by the way. Great book. It's a page turner. It's the real deal. I like books that, how do I say this? Documentary style, right? Nonfiction, information, right? I absorb that. You know, I like my Clive Cussler, stuff too as well. But, okay, Zoso.
Yep.
Now, you go and any quick internet search on Ouija, you're going to come up with that too as well. And I was fascinated with that probably, starting maybe 10 years ago. And I thought, man, people are really doing this. Okay, so what's the real story here?
Well, okay. So people have different types of experiences, whether it's in life or on the board. And I have to say this because I think we're often not aware of our unconscious impulses, and we're not always aware of maybe what we're even thinking consciously sometimes, even though we're conscious. So when we use a tool that reaches into other realms, whether it's tarot, whether it's a K2 meter, whether it's some dowsing rods, whatever it may be, just sitting there with a candle trying to conjure up a spirit, you're working with other energies and you're working in other dimensions you may not understand fully how to navigate. And not that any of us will ever fully understand that. I know I don't. I'm always exploring these different dimensions and pushing boundaries of consciousness. So what I want to say is about Zozo is I truly believe what it is a thought form like a tulpa or an archetypal energy. And I believe it's comprised of real, true energy that's negative. It could be fear, doubt, deceit, anguish. It's based in the lower astral realms, such as the more stuck and earthbound spirits. And it's not a true entity, although people will tell you it is. I don't believe it is. And the spirit guides I work with are here to tell me the exact same thing. It's not a true force. in terms of an entity, although it can appear and use and utilize people's imaginations and people's willingness to open themselves to this negativity. And therefore, things happen to people, and they talk about having terrible experiences in their family or to themselves, or how Zozo came into their life through the board, and et cetera, et cetera. And I know people who write books about this, and I know some of the people that are out there doing the research on this and looking into history, and the name Zozo's come up several times. But I'm here to say, and what I truly believe in my experiences of working with this tool and inquiring and doing my own research into Zozo, is that it's not a true entity, although it can be a negative energy force that we can constellate and bring into our lives.
So I can wear my Led Zeppelin T-shirt and not feel guilt.
You should. I listen. I love some of those rock groups. I like AC/DC. I wear it.
Yeah, when the whole Zozo thing came out, and I started to read, I was like, wait a minute, man. Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
Wait, whoa. I need to slow down. I was like, man, maybe they were tripping out.
Right.
But, the Zozo thing goes into my next question, which is this, and you touch upon this in the book, that when you are making a connection with the board, you're not, when you end your session, it's not like hanging up a telephone, is it? Right?
No, it isn't. And even opening it is not always that same way. But it's, I tell people when they want to use this tool, you really got to develop a sense of yourself. You got to understand where your center is, how you're empowered, and find that within yourself first. I call it having some kind of spiritual practice or belief system in place that you are safe and protected and guarded, and really a strong constitute about yourself. And then start working from there. Because when you don't, then you start opening up to anything. And there are negative lower energies. We just talked about one. There are earthbound stuck spirits. I've spoken to them, and I've got some stories in my book I talk about, and the do's and don'ts, because I've learned the hard way. There's no instructional manual, and when I started, there was no internet to do research on, so I was out there doing this by myself.
So, let's do just that.
Yeah.
Let's go back to December 25th, 1973. You get your first board. Why did you get it?
It's so funny how this Ouija has been around in my life. So when I was very young, Jimmy, at the age of 2, I would see spirits, and I would talk to them, and it was my imaginary playmate, I was told, like it was imaginary, and I knew it wasn't. So I've always had the abilities to see and to hear and to interact with these beings. I put that away when I went to school, but at the age of 8, I met 2 girls down the street, and they said, "Come to my house, we're going to play some games." It's like, very cool. I love games. Hoping that we were going to play Candyland or Monopoly or something like that. Tiddlywinks. No. They pulled out the Ouija board.
Right.
I'm like, oh, here we go. Little did I know that here I am all these years later, still using this tool. So they got me started on it. They said, "We're going to show you something we do. We talk to the dead." And I said, whoa, wait a second. Really? That you can do that? Because now I've been doing it in private, and I really didn't even consider that was the dead I was talking to. I just thought it was like, just angels and little friends and stuff, not thinking, oh, this is dead people. So they said, watch. And they started talking to this spirit on the board. They said it was their dead sister. Now, Jimmy, I had no idea they had a dead sister.
Oh, no.
And this theme repeats itself again, and we'll get to that in a little bit. So one of the girls in the room, this is fascinating. I want your listeners to know, one of the girls in the room had a twin sister that died at birth, right after birth. This little twin was the same age as the girl in the room at 10 now, but she was on the other side at the age of 10. I said, "What? They grew up on the other side?" She said, "Absolutely. We've been talking to her for a while now." I said, "Your parents know?" "Well, yeah, but they don't believe us." And they started talking to her, and she was just like one of us playing games, chit-chatting back and forth. I said, "Let me try." And I said, "Okay, now you guys, you can't push it, because I swear I won't." And they said, "We won't." So I put my fingers on there. They put one of the girls did, 2 of us did it. And it started moving around very easily for me for some reason. And I just thought, this is the coolest thing. I was like, the dead really do continue on. We really can talk to them. They grow up on the other side. They have a life. I thought this was just amazing stuff. I was a Catholic girl being raised that way, and I always heard about, angelic visitations and voices from ahead and above and heaven and things of that nature, and guardian angels. I run home and I tell my parents, it's true, you can talk to the dead, and I want a Ouija board. Oh, Jimmy, they didn't think it was that cool. They were like, whatever, roll their eyes. I said, you know what? No, don't worry. I will ask Santa Claus, and Santa Claus will bring me one. So don't even worry about it. I'll get one on my own. They said, okay.
It was the last time you spent the night at that house.
Oh no, we were doing it. We were at each other's house all the time using the Ouija board after that.
Oh man. Okay, so you get it, and Santa. What? Yeah, that's right. Well, yeah, December 25th. Okay, so you get it for
Santa
Christmas.
Delivered.
Whoa, man. Okay, so what happens next?
Now, I was 8 years old, and the board was for 8 years and older. I thought, I'm the right age to use this game. I didn't know what it was. I thought, it's a game, but this is kind of a serious game. I never had a game where you talk to the dead. I continued to use that tool on and off throughout all those years. And then in my more high school years, it got a little more serious in terms of I was beginning to understand conversations could be more than just silly little things and yes and no questions. They really could be full sentences and paragraphs. And we start asking questions, and friends would come over like, who's my boyfriend, or who am I going to marry, or things of that nature, which is, I look back and I think how silly, but we were getting some really cool answers. But it wasn't until I went to college. And that's when it was a game changer. Talk about game changer radio. It was a game changer for me when I went to college. Everything at that moment changed in how I viewed Ouija.
I want to jump back before we get to college. Docky, the playmate.
Oh, Dacky.
We breezed past that. Okay.
I did, because that's in the second book, the Spirit of Alchemy. Dacky is my supposedly imaginary playmate. But and I thought I met him at 2, as far back as I can remember. And we'd have incredible conversations about everything about life. I mean, as a young kid, like, why are these people my parents? Why are they telling me what to do? Do you want to play today? And things of that nature. And I can clearly, I see him to this day, clear as a bell. But when I was 5 and went away to school, I was so excited to go to school. I felt like I was going to be like my older brother, or I'm going to be like a big kid, and I can't be talking to something that my mom says is not there. So I thought, I have got to just put Dacky away. So I really, in my mind, shut him out, and I started exploring the Ouija board all these years. But I will say, if you just flash forward to when I was writing, and though he's popped up throughout my life, I knew he was really a spirit. He's actually a guardian spirit. But when I was working on my third book, The Spirit of Alchemy, which you also have as well. Yes, he appeared during the writing of that book, and he wrote this incredible poem that my book opens with. And I'm like, where the heck did that come from? And it came so easily. I'd be out walking with my audio recorder, a digital recorder, and I would just talk into it. And this poem flowed out of me, and I couldn't believe there was hardly any editing. It came out of me in a couple of days. And he says, and then that's when Dacky came through and said, yes, I've been here this whole time, and I'm here to help you with this book, because it's important that you share this story, that other people too have these so-called imaginary friends or imaginary playmates that really aren't too imaginary, and they really could be, as I am for you, a spirit that's there to help them.
I almost don't know how to respond to that. And I'll tell you why. When, as a parent, and your small child comes to you with this type of story, and it happens all the time, right?
It does.
Well, to the child, it's as real as Captain Crunch, right? And
yeah, it's as real as any toy or anything else they play with.
And the parent goes, you know what? No, it's just your mind or whatever. And then now you've really confused somebody, right?
Yeah, yes. And I did some research into this, and also being a therapist myself, one of the things I look at, it's not so much you have to believe them, but I think what's good to do, if they are creative in this nature, and typically people that are able to see, like, early on in their life, they tend to be very creative by nature and really good at using the recesses of their imagination. And so instead, just say, hey, we'll draw a picture and you can make a story about it. And, and just encourage them, not so much to go talk to Dacky, but encourage them to explore this power of their imagination. Because in this other book I wrote and I sent to you, The Spirit of Alchemy, I talk about how the imagination is truly your portal into these other realms. And it's not that imagination is fake. It's where we are able to process ideas and get concepts and actually travel and traverse through like guided meditation, visualizations, meditation, all these things to go into the other realms. And so it's a very powerful tool. And if we could just help our children develop this tool. And so if it would have been nice if, and my mom and dad know this now, it'd be nice if you would have said, hey, draw me a picture of Dacky and here, let's write a story. You like to write, so why don't you write a story about Dacky? And then maybe the whole family interacts with Dacky in terms of like write a story with them in the story and just to kind of engage the imagination, because that would be very helpful to continue using that, because out of the imagination comes all these fabulous creative ideas. And this is how our community, culture, society has evolved through the power of our imagination, our minds.
Gabriel just tweeted, I love this. He goes, I got a Ouija board from Goodwill when I was 12. Messed around and got my friend's little brother possessed.
Cute story.
Possible? Is it possible?
Well, when people say possess, I would like to know what they mean by that. I think we all have different definitions. I mean, is it a possession like an exorcism kind of thing? Well, I think people can get obsessed with the board and use it to the point. I saw this in college. People would use the board. I brought it to my sorority, and that probably wasn't the best thing to do because people started using it and didn't want to go to class. I mean, what the heck? They were missing out on class to use the board. I've seen people get really obsessed with it. To say it's the board, it's not the board. It's a person that's open, and a lot of times children are more malleable and they're open to these, and they have these experiences of the other realms. And so to say it's possession, I would say I'd really have to look at it, with my finger on the pulse to understand if something like that's going on. But you can get spirit attachments. But for the most part, we have to look at it as this is a tool. It's not the board. The board is neutral. It's ourselves. And ourselves can open up to all kinds of things I was just talking about in your imagination and creativity and inspiration. And we can open ourselves, to infections, illnesses, sicknesses, and we can open ourselves to spiritual matters too. And so that's why I think a lot of the warnings and fear also surround the board, because it's a tool, it's your permission slip to enter into another realm.
Now, before we get back to college, because that's where we left off as we just went right and left a few times, I wanted to ask you, what about foreign languages, like maybe Japanese or Korean, or what about an Armenian Ouija board or Arabic? How is that dealt with?
Well, there's been divination tools created all around the world in all different kinds of cultures. And a lot of people say the Ouija board goes back to ancient Greece and China, which it doesn't. But some divination tools that were similar that could write and spell were used many, many years ago. Now, I have had spirits come through. I had one come through and speak Spanish to me. Now, I do speak broken Spanish. I'm not fluent by any means, but enough to kind of understand. I've also had a spirit come through, it's actually several times, doing Roman numerals, trying to give me a date. And I'm like, I got to go look this up because I can't remember MCL and all those, which I forget sometimes. And I'm thinking it's spelling gibberish. When I look it up later, it's like a whole date they just gave me. It's kind of weird. People have reported to me different languages for them as well. And I've had sometimes, okay, here we go. You ready to go out on a limb here?
Yes.
Okay, we could go there with the fate or nots. Okay. When you speak to, for example, other dimensions and like other extraterrestrials, ETs, or even other kind of cryptids or other kinds of energies, they can come through with a different language. And I've had some things happen over the years, and I thought it was gibberish to find out when I pulled in my gatekeeper. When you work this tool, you always want to have a bouncer, a gatekeeper, a master, a mistress of ceremony in the spirit realm that can help you with deciphering what's coming through or to interpret what's coming through. When I communicate with the animals, they don't speak in a language like we do.
Right.
They speak in images and feelings, and it's more of people speak to their animals all the time, but it's through your feeling. You feel it, and you just kind of know, and it's a telepathy kind of thing where the spirit guide will help translate and put it into words. So what I've found is they do come through in a different, like phonetics, Sasquatch has a whole different phonetics that we would never understand, so we always need an interpreter. Sometimes ETs, especially when the Spanish woman came through to me that was from Mexico, 100 plus years before I was even on that territory. When she came through, I needed an interpreter. And so the interpreters come forward on the spirit side and help me. I have this whole, what would you call it, army on the other side that helps me do this work.
Well, okay, let's stay on the ET thing. I like this.
Oh,
okay.
right on.
Yeah, let's go right there. Are you, okay, I want to say this correctly. I don't want to sound too much like a doofus. The board itself, like you say, it's just a tool, right?
Yes.
So the communication with ET, how is that approached? Are you asking? I mean, how do you know that you're speaking with ET? I guess that's what
and
I'm
that's
asking.
a great question. It definitely is a smart question. It's not a doofus question, because the question comes on anything I'm talking to. How do I know that I'm talking to who they say it is?
Right.
First of all, you don't when you first start using this tool. And that's where I naively worked through it for probably 10, 13 years, from 73 to about 86. And that's the college story we'll get to in a little bit. So remind us, I've got to share that story. But it was a matter of me building up my energy with this tool, learning how to use learning how to traverse into the other realms and navigate it just through this tool, but having my guides on the other side, and then learning ways to, how can you say, ways to just change my frequency, I guess that's the best way to say it. I would learn, it's almost like tuning a dial on an old radio. And you tune it and you pick up another station. It's that kind of thing. And you learn to tune it, you learn to fine tune it, and you learn that if you have your intention set, you know the feeling of the vibration you want to reach. And then the spirit guides or spirit energies or entities that I'm talking to in these different realms, that's the energy I aim for. And then that's the energy that comes through. And I didn't know this, but I've learned it over the years. And so when you first start out with this tool, you don't know who you're talking about. So the ETs, how I got to them was I spent 4 years from 89 to 93. Pretty much, I would say, once in a while, a spirit would come through. But I would really focused on, I got to the point where I said, you know what? Talking to a lot of deceased people, why couldn't I actually just talk to myself? Like the greater part of me, the higher self of me that's connected back to source energy, the part of me that existed beyond this corporeal existence, this physical manifestation called my body. And could I not talk to that part of me that knows so much more? Because I've always heard about this aspect of myself through psychology, and I was a therapist, and I was a Jungian psychologist, and all these things I was studying and doing. I realized, why couldn't I talk to that? So we did that for 4 years. And by doing that, I realized we raised our energy. We raised it out of this dead zone, I call it, with the earthbounds and the astral and just the deceased. And we moved into another realm. And I things in my life started synchronistically really changing, and things started speeding up. Now, Jimmy, there's an incredible byproduct that happens when you use this tool and you use it really on these levels I'm talking about in terms of fine-tuning your energy, learning how to reach out there with intentions. You begin to develop your empathic abilities, your psychic wisdom. All these wonderful byproducts start happening, and it comes through shifting your energy. So one day we're talking to our higher self, and all of a sudden another being comes through, and I can tell the planchette changes, and it said, "Hello, we wanted to tell you who we are. We are from the seventh dimension of the purple spiral. We are what you would know as Maldek." And they went on to talk about now Maldek. Now, I didn't know what Maldek was.
Right.
It was like 89. You had a good library back then. And I was like, okay. I really just have to put it aside that this is weird. I mean, I really just want to talk to my higher self. That's when the aliens started coming through. And they were always the ones that I've been in communication with have been nothing but very positive, uplifting. And they do talk about our world and where we are. And it's a lot of the stuff you hear out there already. It's nothing new, I tell you. But some of the ways they come through and how they talk to me, and it's very unique. For example, one time we were up in Joshua Tree, and I was doing on a investigation, and we were really trying to do an investigation of some paranormal activity. And instead, an alien came through. He was on a spaceship. I know how strange this sounds. Look, I'm thinking I sound strange too, guys. Totally get it. If it wasn't me, I don't think I'd believe this.
Well, if it wasn't Joshua Tree, I wouldn't believe it either. So
right,
let's just.
Because you know what happened last year at Contact? Because we all were there.
Yes.
We've seen all kinds of things, okay? This was right before Contact, by the way, because I don't live too far from there either. And I was at Contact last year. So he just said, look, I dropped by. I want to say hello. My name is, just call me M. I've never tried this way of communication. He said, I don't even know what you're doing, but you're reaching us and we want to come through and say hello.
Whoa. Stop for a second. This is all one letter at a time, right?
If you watch me, you can see me online doing this. You look up my name and you'll see me on some live shows I've done. Yeah, one letter at a time.
So for this type of communication to come through as you know, as it's unfolding, that's where I'm going with this, one letter at a time. At what point were you like, holy crap?
Well, so what I do, okay, Jimmy, I am there with one finger on my left hand on the planchette.
Right.
My partner always has two hands. My right hand is writing, and I'm saying the letters out loud, and I'm just trying to keep up. I do that to kind of dissociate from the process so I don't know what it's saying.
Right.
And it's worked really well for me over the years. I'll get some of the words and some of it I'll know, but other than that, it's just intuitive. And then when I'm done, I separate the letters out and I can see the words and I get my partner to help me. But this one came through so easily. And it took, I don't know, say 4 or 5 minutes. And he said, the message I have for you is to mankind. And he talked about how what everybody's heard before was nothing new, but it was just wonderful to hear something similar. But to hear this from a being that came through and said, look, I don't know what it is you guys are doing. I've never used this tool. We usually talk telepathically, but to come through in this nature, we just wanted to try this out.
Wow. Did he say if he listened to Fade to Black? Did you guys get to that part?
Dang it. Next time.
Next time. That's incredible.
It is incredible.
That's absolutely incredible. Okay, so we're going to take a break here. What I want you to, we've got about 2 minutes. I want to go back to the epiphany that happened in college. So set us up for that. What happened?
Okay, so I'll set us up. So here I am in college. I brought the board back with me, and in my book, the title of the chapter is Ouija Goes to College. And I took it to college with me to my sorority house, and we were having such phenomenal communications and conversations with a deceased person that some of the people in the house knew. She was an older part of my sorority, and I didn't know her, but the message were coming through to the point that she said, go call up so-and-so who was an alumni, have her come to the house, we have a message for her. And I did this, and these messages come through, and the woman sat there and said, how do you know this? Karen, don't play this game with me. I said, I'm playing no game. I'm the messenger here. Don't get upset at me. But the spirit was saying so many things that were private between the two of them about their fun, the shenanigans they pulled in college, the pranks, the school, the classes, the guys they liked, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it was just amazing. And so people in the house started saying, what are you doing? What is this? How does this work? And of course, there's the naysayers, which is fine. There's the skeptics. I'm totally cool with that. It's hard to believe this. I get it. And they wanted to understand what it is I was doing. And I finally said, you know what? Don't have anything to prove, but I'll show you what. Why don't you come down? We took them to a special room in the house. And I said, there's like 8 or 10 of us. And I said, I'll show you what. We'll show you what we're doing. And I guess I will prove it to you. And we'll even blindfold ourselves. And then we'll let the messages come.
Okay. We're going to take a break right here. Quick question. Are you going to Contact in the Desert this year?
I might. I'm not sure yet. I may. Last year I came in as a volunteer and it was a blast.
Okay. Well, if you do, you got to bring your board. I know you are, right?
Ooh, I always do.
All right. Let's take a break right here because when we come back, it's the blindfold test. It's in the book, too, by the way. I'll be right back. Our guest tonight, Karen Dahlman. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. We'll be right back.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio.
Oh, fall. My favorite time of year. Cooler temperatures and, well, let's be honest, layers. Lots and lots of layers. Look, I get it. We all have that favorite hoodie. Matter of fact, I've got a few favorite hoodies. You should wear yours. Enjoy it. I do. But I stay focused on my health year-round. And for me, I take Nature's Youth RSF from nature'syouth.com. Nature's Youth RSF from nature'syouth.com. I eat right, control my portion sizes, still maintain a commitment to regular fitness, and I get plenty of rest, and I take Nature's Youth RSF. It's okay to cover up your beach body for a few months, but don't just forget about it. Nature's Youth understands exactly what it means to provide top-quality health products, and Nature's Youth customers not only improve their health, they know they're also providing their body with the right nourishment to maintain peak performance levels and fight the aging process. So layer up and get started today with Nature's Youth RSF. nature'syouth.com. Simple to use, even simpler to order. Go to nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com.
I have actually been on Balance of Nature for a year now. I have MS, and I recently had an MRI. This is the first year that I've had a stable MRI, so I'm thrilled. When I have an MRI with MS, usually there are glowing spots that come through, which is damage on the nerves in my brain and my spinal cord, and when they're glowing, it means they're active. And then my last MRI, they pulled it up, and I honestly couldn't believe that it was my MRI. There was nothing glowing. And in fact, the dark spots were shrinking. They were healing. And the doctor actually said to me, I think we're in remission. I was so happy. I had no idea that that could be my reality.
The new challenge will allow you to receive 2 months of Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies free. And we'll even ship them to you free. Call now for details. Call 1-800-246-8751. Or go online to balanceofnature.com. Use promo code TALK.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Karen Dahlman. All Ouija, all night long. I'm looking at the studio clock here. I can't believe we're over halfway through the show. And I knew it, Karen. I knew it. We were going to run out of time. Yeah. And there's way too much to talk about, but let's get in as much as we can. And I know we have to take some phone calls too. So I can see overtime in our future here tonight. So just get ready for that. The blind taste test. Nothing, the blindfold taste test. Nothing is going to, with something like that, you are going to have not only the skeptics, but just the crybabies too as well, right? And, well, go ahead, prove it to me. Come on, Ouija Queen. What have you got for me? Let's go. I need, you're going to have that. Well, here you go. And you do the blindfold test. Tell me what happens.
Well, and what's interesting about the whole blindfold test, I didn't realize that, this is in 86 and I wasn't out so much in the public, just with people that knew me, at school. I guess that's kind of public, but I didn't come out with my books until 2012. And I purposely kept this under wraps. I didn't want to lose my license as a therapist, or people think I'm crazy or whatever, because it does sound, really different. So I didn't realize that was like, everybody says, oh, if you blindfold somebody, the board won't work, or you can't get messages. Well, that's hogwash. And I kept hearing people say that. I said, I've got to put that in my book. When people started hearing me talk, I said, I'm going to go ahead and share that story, because this is an experience that was very personal. I'll explain why. And it was a game changer. Okay. So I'm in this room downstairs. It's our secret chapter room that makes it even more spooky.
Right.
And the girls were in there, and they said, okay, let's see this. And I said, all right. So my partner and I sat across from each other. We had a board. We used her board now. She had a circa 1960s board, which was larger than my 73 board. It's quite a bit larger, and I wasn't as comfortable using it because I'm used to my little 73 compact board.
Right.
Yeah, different size. So we sat there, and I said, okay, we're going to blindfold ourselves. Now, we had never done that to that point. But we had such confidence in these messages we were getting, especially from this one entity, or I should say, deceased person we were talking to, who was nothing but kind and nice and wanted to share her stories. I thought, okay, we're just going to probably talk to her again, but we'll be blindfolded. I handed over my paper, pad of paper and pen, and I said, Dina, would you please write? And by the way, I'm changing people's names. I keep everybody anonymous unless they say I can use their name.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So Dina sat there with the pad of paper and pen, and I said, you're the writer now. And she was used to also using the board with me, so she was cool with how that went down. So my partner Linda's across from me. And we said, okay, let's open the session up. I called in the typical guy that would come through for us. And all the girls were sitting there watching. I said, okay, just keep quiet and we're just going to let it go. We can't see. Our fingers are on the planchette. This time I have two hands on there, so does my partner. And it starts moving quickly. I mean, real quickly, really furiously, with such intent and energy. And it just sped around that board. And I'm only hoping that Dina will be able to pick up every letter. And then I hear kind of a little cry, and I'm thinking, whoa, what's going on here? But we continue to proceed. And then all of a sudden it stops. And I said, oh my gosh, you guys, we pull our blindfolds off. I said, I have no idea what just happened. I said, but Dina, would you please read it? And she reads it. And this is the message, and I have it in my book. And by the way, I'm able to put all this information in my books because I keep copious notes. Ever since this time in the mid-'80s, I started writing every single session down. And nowadays, I even record them and write them down. So that's why I'm able to go back and tell you what date, what happened, what was said. The message is this. Hello, Layla. This is your sister. I am fine. Tell Mom and Dad that I am fine. So is my boyfriend. We love you all. We are still with you. We felt no pain and died on impact, the car wreck. The only pain we ever felt was the pain the family felt and expressed at our funerals and still feel. We are at peace and feel love. Please do not be concerned about us anymore. Know that we love you and will always be with you. We will be with you again. I love you all.
Wow.
And when I say that, I can still feel the emotion at the time. I feel it right now. It's very powerful because at that moment you could hear a pin drop. Not a word was said.
Right.
And then the gal, Layla, sat there and just started bawling.
Right,
right. Now, listen, I had no idea what just came through. I said, Layla, what is this? She goes, it's my sister who died. I did not know she had a dead sister.
Right.
Nobody in that room knew but her and one other person. The rest was none of us knew. It was something she kept under wraps.
Right.
And here I am with the dead sister again. And I went, holy cow.
Wow.
And so she cried, and that gut-wrenching cry. And all of a sudden, I mean, we were quiet. And then all of a sudden I broke the silence and said, okay, guys, no more fun and games. I'm glad we had a little fun tonight. I said, this is it. Turn. This is a changer. This is my turning point.
It is, and I have to ask you, for her, that's one thing because that is her experience. But for you, how did it make you feel, and how did you? Obviously, it has to change your focus.
My focus at that point, 100%, 180 degrees change. I was enjoying talking to dead people. Oh, it's fun. And yes, I was taking it seriously, and I was sharing that we can, communicate with guides a little bit. I didn't fully understand that concept at the time. Right. But this right here, I said, and I was studying psychology, and I went on and became a psychotherapist and got my graduate degree in that. But I was already into human condition, human nature, and understanding grief and closure. And I said, oh my God, this game, this tool, this whatever you want to call it, helped somebody finally let go of all this pain and wonder about what would happen to her sister and is she okay? And nothing could calm her about this except for this session. And she did go tell her mom and dad. She did tell her other sister that was also living and said that they all felt so much better from that experience. And when you and I talked earlier today, one of the people that was in that room, when I reached out to people that had been throughout my life and worked on the board with me, and they put their their piece of what they learned about this tool in the book, in the very back of this book. This one gal was in the room and she wrote, I didn't even ask what she was going to write about. I didn't even talk about this experience with a lot of people. She wrote about that experience and how that had changed her forever. It changed her way she saw religion, changed the way she saw death.
Right.
And it was just amazing, amazing game changer.
Mate just tweeted out, I don't know if you saw this, it's in Fade to Black Questions, but he says, so my relatives who passed away, would they talk to me in English or my mother language through the Ouija board?
They will talk to you in the language that you're most comfortable with and that you can understand. So it could be a mixture, and it could be Spanish. It could be your mother. It could be your language, that whatever language that is. It's really, really what you're comfortable with and what they are too. If they spoke to you in a certain language, that's probably how they're going to come back and speak to you because you understand.
Wow, interesting.
Very interesting.
Now, how do you have you experienced not only a language that you didn't understand, but then you have to turn around and figure out what that language is? I mean, it's one thing to not understand it, but I don't know the difference between Ukrainian and Russian and Polish, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it just all sounds Slavic to me. So,
right, I wouldn't know either. And so for me, since I think when I had some of the gibberish stuff, I didn't have to worry about that so much. I think I wrote it off probably too early. But once I developed the guides on the other side, the spirits will often come through and just use, like I said, they'll be their mouthpiece for them. Whoever's there waiting in the wings, no matter what language they're from. I mean, I've spoken to deceased beings from just all over the world who I definitely know would have had a different dialect than me. But when they come through, I'm able to understand them. And it's not so much that they necessarily have the comprehension to do that. It's the helpers they have that help them do it. Now, when the person came through speaking Spanish to me, I was in Mexico, and I think I understand why it was Spanish when she came through because, first of all, she didn't know she was dead, and we bumped into each other, and I literally saw this apparition, and that started a whole communication between us that started in Spanish. And then I quickly pulled in I have an angel that will work with me, and now I have different interpreters on the other side. Right. I have a whole plethora of beings that work with me, like I said, a whole army that helped me with this work, who did the interpretation at the time.
What do you mean she didn't know she was dead?
Oh yeah, this is an interesting one. So this is a story about Teresa and Sturmy, and Teresa is this woman, a Spanish woman who was living, well, it's Mexico, but it was in the late 1800s when she had met her untimely death. So what happened was I was staying at this all-inclusive adult resort down in Cabo San Lucas, and I was literally there with a friend on a golf holiday, just to have a good time golfing and catching some sun and stuff. And we were getting up early every morning, hitting the links, and then coming back and pretty much going to bed not early every night because we wanted to get as much golfing as we could. So one night we went to bed pretty early. We were getting up, I think at 6:30 to go hit some links, and I got up out of bed, started walking to the bathroom. There's two beds. My friend was in the bed closest to the bathroom. I was in the one closest to the window. I start walking, and all of a sudden in front of me, right in front of me is this woman. I could see half her body from the waist up, this beautiful white dress with this huge puffy sleeves, bodice coming in, and then her dark hair pulled up with a comb at the top, gorgeous looking. I was facing her back. She started turning, and at that point, oh my God, it scared the heck out of me. I jumped into my friend's bed, said, "Oh my God, wake up! There's a ghost in here." She's like, "Oh, shut up, go to bed. You love ghosts." I was like, "Well, not when they just pop out of nowhere."
Right.
So I was a little distracted. I was a little scared, I had to say. I went back to bed, and then I turned the light on by my bedside, and I see this planchette sitting there. It's a glow-in-the-dark planchette. I said, "What the heck? You brought this with you?" I was not planning on talking to the deceased. I kind of wanted a break from it. I just wanted to golf. I just wanted to be a physical person and not do the deceased. Well, there's this planchette sitting there pointing at me. She's laughing. And I said, it's not funny. It's kind of like you're saying, hey, call Karen, 1-800-OUIJA for you. Call Karen when you put that facing me.
Right.
What I've learned over the years, Jimmy, when you use this tool, it's like an opening. It creates this light source, and the spirits see it as like a light, and they will come to it almost like moths to a flame or moths to a light, and they come to it because kind of searching it, especially the ones that are lost. And so they see it as, oh, maybe this is where I'm supposed to go. Maybe this will help me. And so I've learned over the years when I do this tool, they'll come. It's like, because I've already set up this whole intention, this opening, and the work I do. So I said, well, there's definitely something here. I don't think she's bad or fearful or scary. I said, just that it shocked me. It was a shock to have her come through. So I said, let's, in the morning when we go down for breakfast before we leave for the links, let me ask some questions. So sure enough, I asked my waiter, and he speaks a little bit in Spanish. Oh, no comprendo está. No, understand. I said, no, come on, you do. You have a spirit here. And he goes, oh, well, yeah, there's a little girl that runs around. He spoke perfect English. There's a little girl that runs around in our dining hall. And we had not seen her in months. And this morning we saw her. And I said, okay.
Wow.
I said, there's somebody else here. And he goes, oh, there's a woman that wears this beautiful white dress, long dark hair. She walks by the ocean. And when the people go up and ask her, can we help you? She disappears. I said, oh, that's interesting. La fantasma en la cuarto. I was trying to say, but the ghost is in my room esa noche, last night. I was saying the best I could. And he's like, I get it. There's a ghost in your room. I said, absolutely. I said, I think there's a connection here. So to make a long story that can go on forever shorter, we end up going back to the room after our golf game. We communicate with her. We find out her name's Teresa. We have a couple sessions that day. And then I said to Teresa, I said, she said she was looking for her daughter. She gave me the story. She didn't know she was dead. She said her daughter was actually raped and killed by the hands of her husband, who was a wealthy aristocrat from Spain. And she was so distraught over it and couldn't do anything about it, she threw herself in the ocean and drowned. So she all of a sudden knew all this had happened to her. She realized she was dead. She wanted to find her daughter. And I said, I think she's 100 feet south of here. Walk that way. Because she was just walking through buildings, not even seeing them. She was not even seeing the people. She was just existing and repeating the same thing over and over again all these years. And so.
And she's Teresa.
She's Teresa.
Got it. Okay.
Daughter's Sturmy. The woman is Teresa. The little girl Sturmy. So I go back down for breakfast, and they said, we saw the little girl again. Somebody saw her, and she was knocking stuff around. This sounds outrageous. I know it does, but I've gotten used to this. And so I said, well, I have a feeling you're probably not going to see her anymore, because we spoke to the woman. Her name's Teresa, and I told the gentleman what had happened, and I said, this is what I think is going on here, and we will, communicate with her again. So after we played golf, we go back to the room and we do another session. And I said, Teresa, she goes, oh, thank you. I found my daughter. Thank you. And we're together. And I said, well, you can also move on and you could be with the rest of your family. Oh, no, I'm not going nowhere. Going nowhere. I'm never going to lose her again. And she held so tight to her and afraid that she would lose her that they decided just to stay in the realm in which they were, which, by the way, this is a great lesson to learn. It's not up to me to tell some spirit to leave. I'm only here to offer help. It's always about free will. And I don't know what her life lessons are. I don't know what her afterlife lessons are. And for me to impose my judgment on that is not right. But I said, listen, Teresa, if you ever need any help, I'm always here, and you can reach me. Because one thing I've learned, Jimmy, when you work in this realm, it's non-local. Nothing is contained by time and space continuum. Right. You can be anywhere, everywhere, and the spirit can be there too.
That's
so I've
right.
learned to speak with spirits all around the world, just in my own home.
Right. And the name Sturmy is so unique, right?
It's actually the name of a bird. I never even heard the name Sturmy before, but it's actually the name of a type of bird.
And it's Styrmy, everybody.
That's right.
Just so you understand. And so when the name is spelled out for, I have to ask, did you go back to the waiter or anybody else there and go, does the name Sturmy mean anything to anybody here? Did you follow up?
No, I didn't ask that question. But what happened was he was limited time to be at my table. He's waiting on all these people. I said he kept bringing other people over that worked in the restaurant to talk to the crazy ladies in here. She's ghost. I said, yes. And so I just talked to them. I said, I know her name's Teresa. And I said, at that time, I didn't bring up the Sturmy part. I just said, I know this is probably her daughter, but let me find out. So no, I never gave him that word. In fact, I went back when I got back home to California. I looked up the word myself. And so did my friend who was part of this, who did the board with me, and we found out what that was. Now, what happened, this is really cool. The story doesn't end in Mexico. So about 3 months later, I'm at my house. This is like January. So 3 months after, it was October when I was down there. my friend comes over and says, let's do the Ouija board. And I have a lot of friends who really enjoy using this tool. So we got the board out, and usually we just talk to our spirit guides and things of that nature. Teresa came through immediately, said, oh my God, thank you, I'm here, thank you so much, I'm so happy. And I said, do you notice that around you are your relatives? Do you see any in light or anything inviting? She goes, yes, I do, I do. I said, well, why don't you look into that and see if it's warm for you and inviting and you feel like moving forward. And she did. And at that point, my angel came through and I talked to Teresa and Sturmy. And instead of going into more details of her life and all this stuff, I thought, this is really more about her and her being able to move on and not being stuck for like she had been for all these years. And so they moved into the light. And that was like a spirit releasement, if you want to call it that. But it's because she chose to go, and it wasn't for me to choose it, but she said she wanted help and wanted to go now and be with the rest of her family. And so she did.
Where do they go?
Right. Well, that's a great question because there's so many dimensions out there, and what I've learned is that you go in terms of what you believe. And so, if you believe in a hell, if you believe in a purgatory, you believe in a heaven, you believe in a beautiful nirvana, you believe in you're going to be at your favorite space on earth. That's where you go, and you're actually in another dimension. And what the spirits often tell me, the ones who are passed over, and also the guides, they'll say, they're more alive there than you are in your physical form. And when they actually drop the corporeal existence and move into their more spirit body, what they find is that they're free and they're able to create whatever reality they want. And in fact, they're just another dimension, like one over, and it's right here. If I put my hand literally 5 inches from my face, spirits, it's right there. And so to say, where is it? Like, we always want to know where's that position, the latitude, longitude, or the quadrants, things of that, or coordinates. We want to know that because that's how we are in our culture. Theirs is non-local. They could be anywhere and everywhere at the same time. And yet many of them will transition into other kinds of roles or incarnations, and I definitely believe in the whole idea of having different existences, parallel existences, as well as what we call past lives.
You've always mentioned having a partner, and I get that part of it because that is the way that we understand how Ouija works, or is supposed to. Have you developed the ability to use it by yourself?
I have, but that's interesting because of what the rules on the back of the board or on the box said you have a partner. So it wasn't until I used it for 39 years. So it's just in the last 4.5 years that I've been using it by myself too. Because I used it so well all these years with partners that it's my favorite way to use it. And plus, I love the energy, the connection of two people working together. It really heightens the experience. And then there's a whole kinds of discourse and discussion that occurs. And you get somebody to be there with you, witness, and be a part of this process, which makes it really lovely and lively. And I host my open message circles, and I'll have people visit me who really want to do this work with me. So I love that. But yes, I use it by myself now. I can. But Jimmy, what's happened, as I mentioned, the byproduct of using this tool and learning how to go into the other realms, I find that I don't need the board anymore.
Right.
And I'm actually getting off the board. I've been getting off the board the last several years. And that spirit of alchemy comes from that teaching somebody how to use the board in an advanced way, but also how to do this without a board.
Now, we're going to open up the phone lines, everybody. I get that, 323-825-5045. I'll go ahead and line up some phone calls now. But let me ask you this. Was there a session that you regret?
Ooh, a session I regret. Gosh, no, I can't say I do. Okay, so I will say I've had some sessions in my earlier years where some energies came through that were just not so nice. I can't say they were going to do anything to me. It was just more like they cussed. And they were demeaning. And I just said, you know what? You can't talk to me that way. Bye-bye. Shut you down. Put the board away. Bye-bye. And that's how I handle it every time. I feel strong enough in myself that I don't deserve to be treated that way. And I tell anybody that uses this tool, you never engage in that kind of behavior. You're just drawing more energy to you. So I would say that's the only thing that has been disappointing or I didn't like about it. Even the sessions where, there's some stuck spirits or they need help and they've come to me for this help, I actually find that enliveningly. I find it that it's part of my calling and my passion. And as a therapist working with people and helping them, I have no problem working with as being a therapist for the dead, if you will. I mean, it's just very natural for me to do that. And so I've actually enjoyed. In fact, I feel so honored to be able to do this work. It's really had a great effect upon my life, and I believe it's made me a better person for this work.
Now, obviously, finding things out about the past or deceased and things that have happened, that's one thing. What about the future? Can you use it for that?
You sure can. It can happen. Now, I always tell people, be very wary of trusting the accuracy of the messages, especially in the beginning. And I say beginning, that could be 3 years, it could be 5 years, it could be 10 years, it could be 15 years, it could be a long time. You really got to use this tool, really got to get to know yourself, really have to work on yourself in a spiritual way, grounding, centering, all these things I talked about, meditating. And this is going to help you be able to weed through the messages. So, yes, you can get future stuff. I do. It's not, I don't use the tool typically that way. Because I feel like it's more, okay, this is what the spirit guides tell me when I do go into the future. They say, we're reading the vibration that's around the events you're inquiring about. That doesn't mean we're going to have an accuracy that you're going to wish we have to give you an answer. We're going to tell you right now what's happening and how things can go. So when I get an answer, that's what it is. And by the way, that's what it is for psychics. They are reaching into the realm and reading the vibration of the energy of that person or the circumstance and giving you, if things keep going down this path, this is what could happen. That's why you can't get 100% accuracy with the future. Now, let's throw something in there. Let's just throw a wrench into it. The interesting thing about this, the past, present, future is all happening now. So it's kind of like woo, woo, woo.
Right.
Yet, because we're in this existence, we want to know of a time continuum. They don't always necessarily want to tell us everything, even if they do know. Because it's like they're interfering with free will, interfering with our own evolution. And there definitely is a wall you're not supposed to cross.
What? So the Super Bowl, World Series, lottery numbers, right? Out.
Well, listen, people try it all the time, and I'm going to tell you something right now. This is bizarre. So again, I told you the byproduct of using this tool has been to really help me develop some of those skills. One of the things that happened to me, and it's in my dreams, because I work with my dreams a lot, and that is another way to do this work without using a board. I am an avid dreamer. I write my dreams down, and for periods of many years, I would just write nonstop. I could get 5 to 6 dreams a night and remember them all, and I know many people out there can, and lucid dreams. Well, one night, this is about 20 years ago, the lottery had just come out in Texas. Ann Richards, the governor at the time, put the lottery in place. And I was so super excited. I've been thinking about it. I want to play the lottery. I'm so excited. I was old enough to play, and I was like, this is going to be great. Well, I dreamt the numbers, and I dreamt all the numbers. I couldn't remember one of them in the morning. But I got them all right. I played it and I won. I just didn't get that last number. I know. But I won a little bit of money, a little bit of cash.
Did you really?
I did. I really did. And that was through my dreams. So things, I mean, again, everything's happening now, right? If we can look at that esoteric concept, I can't quite put my mind around it, but I'm going to say it's happening. So somehow I tapped into the future of what those numbers would be drawn, and then all of a sudden I play them, and then I had them. You know, how do you explain that? Yeah,
exactly. Now, okay, we're going to take a break here. I've got phone calls lined up, and I've got some more questions that have come in, and I've got an email. Oh, you know what? I want to let me get some of these emails to you because you mentioned this earlier, and because this question was confusing to me, but you actually mentioned it. So here's the question, Jimmy, and this is from Rick and Sylvia. Ask Karen, what is the difference between Ouija and dowsing? And you mentioned dowsing earlier. So
yeah, nothing. You're going into the realms. You're experiencing with other unseen energies, and you're using them, and you're learning how to read them. Period. That's it. I happen to get words, and then dowsing, you happen to get the little things moving. You get the little dowsing rods moving.
That's I didn't.
Same thing.
I didn't even look at it that way. And when I heard you say that, I was like, wow, there you go. All right, phone calls are lined up. Karen Dahlman is the guest. It's all Ouija all the time. And I've got some more stories that Karen's going to share with us, too, as well. We'll try to get it all in. This is Fade to Black.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
KGRA Radio. Intelligent talk.
PatriotPrepared.com carries the leading brands of storable food from Numana, Legacy, and Heaven's Harvest. Patriot Prepared. Our name says it all. We're dedicated to empowering you to be self-reliant and confident in any circumstance. Whether you want to be prepared in the event of an emergency or you're an outdoor sports enthusiast, PatriotPrepared.com has prepackaged meals and kits for your entire family. Legacy, Heaven's Harvest, and Numana are known for high-quality, great-tasting, GMO-free, nutritious food with no chemical preservatives. Simple to prepare, easy to store, gluten-free and organic high-quality nutrition options with a 25-year shelf life. You can't beat the feeling of being food secure when you need it most. So go to PatriotPrepared.com right now to pick up your supply of high-quality storable food for your family, because it makes good sense to be prepared. That's PatriotPrepared.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Would you like relief from muscle pain, headaches, and discomfort to sleep better, have more energy during the day, and just feel naturally amazing? Fibromalic can help. Its blend of malic acid and magnesium can provide pain relief and comfort for those who experience fibromyalgia. It helps your body absorb more oxygen, and it works quickly for a significant reduction in pain within 48 hours, all without a prescription. Ask for Fibromalic at health and vitamin shops or shop fibromalic.com.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Tappy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn
it. This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Karen Dahlman, all Ouija, all the time. You know, before I get to the phone calls here, Karen, I started to think, wouldn't it be, have you ever done like a live session with video, and could we do that on the show?
I would love to do it. Yes, I have done several shows now. We've done some specials through some other shows, radio podcast shows, and they're online. You can find them. They're on my website too under videos. But yeah, I'm open to that. We did a show, it was really wonderful. We did two shows actually on animal communication where we get messages for people's very much alive animals, right, pets, and also deceased.
Right.
And by the way, you guys are right. That was my cat in the background. He loves to yell when I'm on the radio.
Yeah, that's
ghost cat.
Yeah, that is. I love it. By the way, I love it. Yeah, because we're going to start running live video for. You know what? I just let the cat out of the bag, no pun intended. But in the future, I think that would be really, really cool. And remember, this is live, right? This isn't a podcast. So anybody that would see, this would be live. No,
we did it live where there's video and people write in and it's real time. And they ask questions and I'm answering them right there and they get to see me do it. Yeah.
Yeah, totally cool. All right. Well, I thought I thought I was planting a flag and creating something original, but so much for that
I
idea.
can tell you, people have been kind of reticent, I think, because of the fear and worried about the stigma. But
Sure.
Several times, and I've been very, very careful about who I do it with, and also, to me, it's a very sacred thing, a very sacred tool, and I take it very seriously. So I've been really careful, what media or what groups I do it with.
Let's go to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Say hi to Karen. Who's calling?
Hello, Karen. Hi, Jimmy. This is Bev.
Hey, Bev. What have you got for Karen?
Hi.
Well, I wanted to... My baby sister and I had a bad experience with the Ouija board. I was about 14 or 15. She was about 12 or 13. And we were over at a friend of our family's and we were babysitting. Well, we broke out the Ouija board and we just started playing with it. All of a sudden, because we were asking it, is someone here tonight? And if someone's here, show yourself. And, well, next thing we know, the kitchen cupboards came open. Pans are flying across the room in the kitchen. And we were freaking out. There was a lot of moaning and like this. And, oh, my gosh, we were just freaking out. Now, I do have a question. Does she feel that using a Ouija board is a portal for evil spirits?
Well, first of all, I wanted to respond to your experience. That's very, very interesting. And I wanted to ask you if there was that kind of activity, poltergeist-like activity in your house before you even pulled out a board.
Oh, no, this wasn't at our house. It was at a friend of ours. But no, there was never any poltergeist activity there.
Okay. One thing I do want to say, too, and never to discount anybody's experience, because you never know. It's like I'm telling you all these stories, too. It's like I'm asking you not to believe me. You can doubt it, and I get that. So what I want to say is there's been experiments done with teenage girls that a lot of times girls are psychic, and especially the teenage years, that they can help cause poltergeist-like activity. Now, that's just one option. The other option could be something really happening, with the board. But I got to say, it's not the board. Again, the board's neutral. But because people are using a board, they tend to think that's the reason why these things happen. So now I'm going to answer your question now. You said, can evil spirits come through? Okay, first, you're asking probably the wrong person. I don't believe in evil. I believe in evil people and evil behavior and evil energies, but I don't believe in like an evil spirit. What I do believe can come through is anything that you conceive. So basically, I always tell people what you believe is what you'll receive, what you believe is what you'll conceive. So when you use this tool, it's very easy to call upon those energies, especially when you're playing with it and don't really know how to use it in a positive light or accurately. You can pull in any kind of energies that are out there. That's very true. You can communicate with it. You can bring them forward. And so I have to say, it's not that I see it's evil. I see it as often misinterpreted and misunderstood when the energies do come through. Because when something comes through you're not used to from the unseen realms, it can be very scary because we're not used to it. It's like me, who's used to seeing ghosts, all of a sudden sees one in my room in Mexico, and it scares the bejeebers out of me, because it does, because we're not used to it. So I would probably say, not that I'm saying it was evil that was there. I don't agree with that. I would say it probably is some energy that was probably misunderstood. But your experience is your experience, and I think it's pretty amazing, actually.
Thank you for the phone call, Bev.
Person, you can bring evil through, correct?
If you're a negative person, you'll bring negative stuff through. Absolutely. That's a great way of saying it. If you're a negative in let's say people should not be using this tool when they're drinking and imbibing in weird substances. It doesn't, just like drinking and driving. You just don't Ouija and drink, If you're negative about it, you will bring even sitting in your room with a candle trying to conjure up a spirit, you're going to bring something negative to you because you're negative. Your energy is itself. Again, it's frequency, and you're tuning your dial, and it's tuning to the energy you want. So I say be very careful when you do any kind of work with the unseen realms.
Thank you for the phone call, Bev. Excellent questions. Let's go back to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Say hi to Karen.
Hi, Karen. Hi, Jimmy.
Hello.
My name is Marilyn. I was just wondering, earlier you had mentioned that woman, Teresa, and you said you had asked her if she saw a light. What exactly does that mean?
Oh, great question. Okay, so one of the things I do is if I'm working with a spirit that's stuck and they tell me they want help, and we can go into some of the stories in a little bit, they will ask me. When they ask me, I always say, do you see any light around you? Because what attracts them to me is this light that I create when I'm working with my partner on this planchette. We have good intention, and literally they tell me a literal white light is what they see on the other side. When anybody's doing spiritual work, meditating, feeling joy, feeling positive, happy with somebody, feeling love, you emit light. We're electromagnetic frequencies ourselves. We are always vibrating energy, and it is light. And so I knew she saw my light. That's why she bumped into me. And I knew that when I work with the other realms, there is a light force that comes through. And it could be somebody a family member. It could be an angel. It can be anything that feels loving and joy. And they immediately go into a light. And that is what actually helps them transcend and go into the other realms where they need to be. Does that help?
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
It is amazing.
It's pretty interesting. Marilyn, thank you for the phone call.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you really quick, my fascination with ancient Egypt and that culture. Are you able to go back that far, or do you ever communicate with any of the spirits that were around in ancient Egypt?
I haven't, but you can, and I know people who do. I'm more fascinating with probably the Mayan and Native American culture, which I've gone into and spoken with different beings from those different cultures at different times. And sometimes you don't necessarily, in terms of dialing it up, it's like you have to get your intention and know what era you want to go to, and it can be done. I do it all the time with different types of cultures. However, I will say one of my more fascinating things I do today is really just working with all kinds of energies and consciousness of sentient beings. So I'm really exploring all the various different types of sentient beings that have been out there for eons and are out there now. So yeah, people start when you do this tool. I know a lot of people who work on it in a very high level, they're specializing in who they talk to, whether it's angels, guides, ethereal beings, cryptids, etc., aliens. That's kind of where I'm at with it. But yeah, if somebody came to my session or even on your show and when they wanted to ask questions about Egypt, they would talk to you about it, whatever they can share. I had somebody at one of my shows ask about the Knights Templar. And she thought she was a Knights Templar. And they said, no, you were the keeper of the secrets of the Knights Templar. You were more important. And so she learned a whole lot about her life in that past life history with that one session. So yeah, it definitely can happen.
Tell us about Hector.
Oh, Hector. Yes, Hector's in my book. So this is a really good example of how a spirit is lost and they stumble upon this light we just talked about with Marilyn, and they don't know where they are, and they're just kind of confused and dazed. So I was in the Palm Springs area. My brother was visiting, the same brother who I used to board with, a planchette with for many, many years. And I said, let's do the board. Let's do the Ouija board. His wife was there too, and she wanted to experience it. And we just started talking to the guides. I call them the guides. And then all of a sudden, a gentleman comes through, and it was a man, and he was very frantic, and he's like giving us an address. He kept spelling out 82975 Avenida Requa. I don't know if I'm saying the word right. He spelled it out, and he told me his name, and then he spelled it out again. He said, help me, I'm trapped. I don't know where I am. Help, free me. You're the one who can help me. I know you can. Free me. I don't know where I am. Help. Tell me where I am. Tell me where I'm at. Blah, blah, blah. Kept going on like this, frantic and moving fast on the board, and I could just feel the energy and the desperation. So I called in my angel who helped with Teresa, we talked about earlier. She comes through and I said, look, Mary Angel, it's her name, is here, and she's here to help you. And I had him look for her, and he says, I see her, I know who she is, I see her. Help me. And this went on. This panic went on for, 10, 15 minutes. And so Mary, when she came in, I said, hey, could you, and I did this whole thing where I talked to them, and it's like, I feel like I'm a therapist again, helping them connect, helping them see the light, communicate with Mary, help him. And it's this whole orchestration I'm doing. And he said, okay, I see it now. And he was able to go into the light again. It was a lot more belabored than that. But we took that address, Googled it. It was a real address, got in our car the next morning, drove to this place. It was in Indio, found the address, and sure enough and behold, there was a building. It was a, what was it called? It's a Oh, I can't. The words have lost me. It's like a forest lawn. It's a building where you funeral home. There we go. Funeral home.
Right.
It was a funeral home. Okay, so the front of the funeral home had a number on it. That's all it said. On the side of the building, actually said it was a funeral home. There was no descriptor or plaque on the front of the building that said where he was. So what he saw was just this number and the street, and he never went to the side of the house. That's how stuck and weird, strange it was for him. He didn't even see the name of what it was. He had no idea. He was actually, his spirit was still hanging around this funeral home.
Oh,
turned out, he died at the age
man.
of 29. He's been there for 75 years, stuck. And we were just like, what? You really can check these things out.
Right. Wow.
I know.
Wow. Okay, let's go back to the phone. I got to take a phone call now after that one. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Say hi to Karen.
Hey, Karen, how you doing? Hey, Jimmy, how you doing? It's
Doing
Jose.
great.
Oh, hey, Jose. How are you? I just said, hey, Jose.
Right.
How
hey,
cool.
Jose.
Yeah, hey, Jose. Jose is our staff photographer. He's calling in from Florida, and
wonderful.
One of our most talented guys, and with us here. But Jose, welcome to the program. What do you have for Karen?
Yeah, I was wondering. She mentioned earlier, Karen. You mentioned earlier that how Sasquatch has come through the Ouija.
Oh,
I was just
yes.
wondering what kind of comments and what they had to say, and I'll take the answer off the air, so I don't take too much time. But I'll just listen off the air. Just was wondering what they had to say.
All right.
Jose, thank you so much for asking that, Jose. That is wonderful. This is something. I'm exploring cryptids now. Part of the that pushing boundaries of consciousness and speaking to all kinds of sentient beings. I've had several sessions with Sasquatch, and they have a lot to say. And what they basically want to say is that we truly are, we exist in tribes and in families, and we care for our young just as you care for yours. We really, really don't want contact with you other than a few here and there. We'll do telepathy. We don't understand why you can't talk that way, because it seems like the easiest way. If you could hear our spoken language, which we don't use very often, it's done with phonetics that you wouldn't even begin to understand or comprehend what we're saying, although it is very legible and intelligent to us. They said we don't really like to be called Bigfoot. It's kind of derogatory to us. It's like calling you guys little people or something. We'd rather be called what the natives call you. We can't. The name of us, we can't say. You wouldn't understand phonetically what it is. But we like the natives' names of Sasquatch and so forth. They said we really do want to be on our own and left alone. And they said, I thought this was fabulous. You know, Jimmy, how a lot of people say they'll see UFOs when they see Bigfoot, Sasquatch. A lot of times you'll hear people talk about seeing the same things at the same place.
Right.
So we asked them about that. We said, we often hear reports of you'll show up and then there's a light in the sky. And they said, well, that's very funny, because we thought when we see you, a light in the sky approaches. We thought you were bringing in the lights in the sky. And in fact, they said your ETs. Your ETs have the ability to twist and reshape time and space, and often will come in and out of the dimensions. They know how to travel. They know how to go in and out of dimensions. And they said, but it will sometimes dislodge us. And we've seen where your humans have also gone into these other dimensions and get lost, and they can't always find their way back. There's so many things they're saying. I just got to write a book about it.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
Did you have a translator for that?
Yes, I have a translator that translates all the different animals. They're cryptids. These aren't really animals. I guess you would call them. We're an animal. Humans are animals. It's a type of animal.
Right.
Yes, I have the different consciousness. It's like an oversoul consciousness of each of the species that'll come forward and do the communications.
Where does my cat go at night when he leaves the house?
That'd be a great question.
That's what I want to. I've been thinking about getting a GoPro. I swear, I want to know what's going on there, man. He'll eat his late night meal, boom, gone, come back in the morning, sleep all day.
At least he comes back.
Man.
You're doing something right.
Yeah. Where does my cat go at night? All right. Let's talk about Tom.
Tom McEachran. This is a story that has happened close to home.
And again, I'm going to cut you off. A
Sure.
very unique name.
It is a unique name, and I didn't know who he was when he first appeared. Again, my brother was visiting, and to this day I have a lot of different partners than just my brother. But some of these stories, he was very instrumental. He's very good at using this tool with me. He was visiting me, and we thought we'd pull the board out and do some talking, and again bringing in the angels and guides that we talked to, and then this person comes through, and he spelled out this name. He spelled out McEachran Tom. I go, what is that? And then he went on to tell us that what his name was, where he is. He says, you can sit on me. And I thought, that's silly. What do you mean sit on me? He goes, he said that there was a water and there was a lot of rain. And in the ocean, he basically said that he drowned and that there was a bench with his name that put on it in memory of him. And little unbeknownst to me, I did see these benches. They started popping up at the beach where I live. And I went down there with my brother and a few other people. We went down there and looked, and sure enough, there was a bench there, and it had the name. It said, Tom McEachran, one with the sea. And I didn't know anything. I didn't even know about this guy's name. I never even seen the name on the bench. I just go down there to run like 5:30 in the morning. Wasn't even paying attention to this bench. But he said he'd been there. He said it's very loud where he is because he's right by train tracks, and he was still there. To me, he didn't seem stuck. It seemed more like he was saying hello. I appreciate the fact they got me a bench. It was more of a very positive thing and wanted to be acknowledged. And at that point, I said if he doesn't need anything, there's no reason to push it any further. And it was just a really sweet story about how the deceased can just hang out where they might have died and just to be acknowledged. They just want to know that they still exist.
That's an incredible story, but how does that make you feel when you stumble upon the bench and then you find out what he was referring to? I mean, does that freak you out, or are you beyond the freaked out side of things?
That freaked me out because it was a nice conversation, but he said, I see you when you run in the morning. It was like that kind of stuff. And I went, I'm not going down there at 5:30 in the morning and running anymore. I found another route to run on in the neighborhood. That kind of freaked me out because, again, it's not like I want to go out there looking for this, but when I connect to it, I really have no fear. So on the board, I have no fear at all. And when they do pop up from time to time, it's sometimes surprising, and it jars me a little, but once I get it together, I'm okay. Back then, this was quite a few years ago, only about 6-7 years ago. I think it unnerved me a little bit, but now I would say not so much. But no, I think when you get that kind of experience, when they say they see you, we're here, you can come see me, I'm like, no, thank you. It's not really what I want to do.
Somebody just posted, I don't know if you saw this on Twitter, but Haunted by Cheese just posted the famous I Love Lucy episode, The Seance.
Oh, did she? Okay, wonderful.
Yeah, with Lucy.
I saw that one.
Yes, I totally remember it. Back to your Joshua Tree pre-CITD session when you connected with E.T.
Yes.
And you said that he was in a ship, right?
Yes, he was in a ship.
As you know, our famous sighting last year was the green chrome ball sighting.
Yes, I saw videos of it, and I heard all about it. I had already left at that point when you guys were seeing that.
Oh, man. Okay, not to revisit that once again.
I know, that was totally cool. And see, we didn't ask about his ship, like what color it was. He just we were really there for a paranormal investigation and looking into other things, but he just popped in, and he gave us that world message of peace and love and stuff, and he just said, basically you're not ready to have the contact until you can change the way you work in the world. You're so hateful to each other. It's really hard for us to come through. But hey, I wanted to come by and say hello and try this form of communication.
So he didn't say,
"Thank you, come back again." He goes, "I will someday."
I was hoping he was going to say, "I'm going to jump in my green orb and take off." He didn't say that.
No, he didn't. Dang
Man,
it.
that would have been the closer for me. That would have been.
Maybe I can call him in for this CIT.
That would have been the deal closer. Has Karen? This is from Dan over in Australia. Dan wants to know: have you ever used? And I don't understand this. I'm sure you will. Has Karen ever used an interlaced circle board, one side for guardian and the other side for visitors?
I must say I'm not familiar with that board, but I do have a board that's two-sided. It's a specially made board with two sides to it. You use one side at a time. I would assume you can't. How would you use both sides at the same time? You have to use one side. So I'm not familiar with that board, but I'll tell you this. I have a total of 21 boards. Most of them are Ouija boards, literally made by Ouija, with the Ouija trademark on them. And I have some that are just talking boards, and I have 3 that were handmade, one of a kind, sent to me, and some real, just special gifts. At any board I use, I can get them to work just the same as is my original board. In fact, and so when you ask this question about the double-sided board, if I could use it, or this, does it work, and all that stuff, any board will work. In fact, I will use a paper sack. I will open it up, write the letters on it, and put the numbers on it, put yes, no, and away I go with the double old-fashioned or a Pyrex dish. You don't need a true traditional board. And in fact, I suggest people make their own because it'll have more meaning to you. And you can use any kind of board, really. And again, I can take the board that looks the most demonic to people. I can make that work, and it'll be all positive. My same guides will come through. They come through every single board. I just received this beautiful, incredible glass board etched with all these images on it, including Sasquatch, because I communicate with Sasquatch, and the letters and the alphabet. And the spirit guides come on. They work the planchette. They move around the board to get used to where everything's located, and then away we go. And it's just like any other board.
Let's take one last call before the break here, and then I'm going to get you to do some overtime. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Say hi to Karen. You're live. 3. Yeah, you're live right now.
Oh, they have the radio on.
They're listening to the radio. It's so funny because I could almost sit and just listen to this forever, but they don't realize that they're on a time delay.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I'll do this one more time. 3, 2, 1.
Hello.
You're live right now. Turn down the radio.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Okay, there you go. You're live. What do you have for Karen? Okay.
Hello.
There you go. That's it. I'm not going to waste airtime for that.
Right.
Okay, so when we come back, I'm going to get you to, if that's okay, can you stay for another 10 minutes?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, because I want to get to some of the teaching and lessons stuff that I definitely want to get through tonight. But I had a very interesting question that popped up here. Do you have a special message? You knew this was going to come up for the Fadernauts.
Oh, I was going to do that, and I didn't sit down for a session. Next time, I promise I will. Okay, so hold on. I can hear them right now because I speak to them directly. They just want you to. This is them starting to come through. I'm going to speak what they're telling me. They want you to understand that what I'm talking about tonight is nothing for you to necessarily believe or to just take in as if it's your own. They want you to understand you should have a healthy skepticism to this, but also to begin to open yourself to the possibilities of exploring beyond yourself and pushing your own boundaries. Because as you begin to push your own boundaries, you'll find that you are a very empowered being who also can move into these realms and have these incredible connections that Karen is talking about.
Is there somebody, really quick, is there somebody that shouldn't Ouija? Is there somebody that you would give advice and go, you know what, this probably isn't for you?
Absolutely. I would say anybody who's afraid of it or just doesn't call them, don't do it. I would say also if you are in a situation where you're super depressed, you're taking medications or schizophrenia or a lot of these other kinds of disorders that will throw you off, that could make things worse, don't use this tool. And really you shouldn't be using any kind of tool of that nature and looking for answers outside yourself, because this is not the tool to be used. You've really got to be centered in yourself. And so I'd say quite a few people who do ask me about it, and I will ask what's their state, mental state, as well as their physical state, and what are their emotional feelings about it. I may tell them this might not be the tool for you right now.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. Our guest tonight, Karen Dahlman. It's all Ouija all the time. We're going to do a little overtime. Thank you, Karen, for agreeing to do that. The Fadernauts right now are freaking out of their mind.
Yay!
And I love every minute of it. Thank you so much. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to do some teachings. What has she learned? What have others learned? We're going to do that next. Stay with us.
listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies.
I had gout in both my knees, and it's gone.
Well, I'm pretty stupid. I should have ordered it 15 years ago. Best thing I ever got in my... It's the most effective product that I've ever bought in my life.
He had eczema on his hand, and it cracked for years. He did anything from doctor, every cream, everything. And 3 months on the veggies and fruit, it was gone.
They're just awesome. They keep asking me, what am I doing? I told them what I did with my cholesterol. I had the blood test, right? And it went down 100 points. 262, now it's 162. Everything is just perfect.
Call now to find out how to get your free month's supply of Balance of Nature. Call 800-2468-751. That's 800-2468-751. Call now, 800-2468-751. Or go online to balanceofnature.com.
Use promo code TSL.
Would odors, mold, and mildew describe your basement or crawl space? It doesn't have to be that way. Transform them into a fresh, healthy, usable one with the technologically advanced Wave Moisture Control Units. The computerized operation maximizes moisture control and also expels harmful radon, combustion gases, and numerous other pollutants. Dehumidifiers are old technology that do nothing for air quality and waste energy. Wave units are intelligent, self-monitoring, do not need maintenance, and will save you hundreds in electricity. Wave units are still running effectively over 15 years. They've been tested and installed in public and military housing and by property managers nationwide. Buy a unit now, and if your home is not fresher and drier, you can return it for a full refund for up to 12 months. What have you got to lose? Call now. 1-888-618-WAVE. 1-888-618-WAVE. Or visit mydryhome.com. That's mydryhome.com.
Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring 2 Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hardshell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The 2 full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129, and use the promo code JCRTWS, and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to JimmyChurchRadio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Teppy.
This is Kristen, Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
All right, welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Karen Dahlman, all Ouija, all the time tonight. I got to tell you, I'm having a great time. So I'm just throwing caution to the wind. Screw it. We're just going to do this thing until we finish. And I've got too much stuff to talk about. And first things first, Karen, did you see this Ouija board tombstone in Twitter?
Yeah, Robert Murch for the Talking Boards Historical Society organized that.
That's real? They let that thing into a cemetery?
They sure did. Yeah, but it's a headstone of one of the founders of Ouija, so it needed to be there.
Oh, I was going to say also, that's interesting because there's no name on the tombstone, so you would have to planch it, right? Okay.
Very good.
Quick question, really quick. I want to get all of these in. This is from Roseweed. She says, do you say a prayer or do a circle of some sort before you begin? What do you say before you start?
fabulous. We didn't even get to talk about how to even do this.
Right.
Oh my goodness, you're right. We got so much to talk about. Now, I do give all this in my book, but I will briefly say yes to that. I do a prayer. I have the prayer written out, and they gave it to me. It's a prayer they gave to me. And then also I do a breathing exercise, which creates a circuitry between the balance of positive and negative energies within ourselves. And I go into that in all my books, and I've got that there too. Then I have 13 steps, yes, the lucky number 13, of things to do to prepare yourself to do a session, and how to host one. So yes, I go into that. And so prayer is very important, and I'll tell you why. Prayer helps people for protection. Now, I feel very solid in myself, and I don't feel like I need the extra protection, although I always think about I move through my world, my life, as being protected. However, the spirit guides have told me what's really important about that prayer is that it raises your vibration through the intentions you say in that prayer. And that's how you dial your little channel knob, your frequency, to match who it is you want to communicate with. So yes, a prayer, an incantation, a statement in the beginning, in a serious nature is really important to do. Great, great question. Thank you for asking that.
And our good friend John Murphy from New York, who is a troublemaker, by the way, he says, have you ever witnessed a death?
You mean of an animal or person? I'm
going person here. I know John.
So I have been around a lot of people who have died, but also when I was a therapist, I've been around people who have ended up committing suicide. Now, I've ever witnessed somebody die? No. But when my grandmother was dying, she was in and out of a consciousness, and she asked point blank, came back into consciousness and said, how do I die? And I had to talk her through what to do. But no, I've never been there with a person, but with animals, yes, when they pass over.
And what do you do with that?
When somebody asks you that?
Yeah.
Okay, it shocked me, but at this point, I had already was a therapist, and I also, I was in graduate school. I was becoming a therapist, and I also at that point, I had a lot of training in this, but I also had a lot of work with the other side. So I said, I just said what I would say to the spirits that are stuck. I said, look for the light. They're coming here to see you. And she would talk about all these people in her past who are already dead coming to see her. And she would tell me, they're here, they're doing this, they're doing that. I said, well, go enjoy yourself, Grandma. Please go with them and enjoy it. They're here to bring you home. Go with them. It's okay. We love you. We can let you go. It's time for you to go. You just really be with the moment of what they're trying to tell you and calm them down. Because truly, what the spirits tell me when they cross over, it's the easiest thing and the most glorious thing they've ever done.
Where is this cemetery where the tombstone is?
It's in Baltimore.
Can people go and see it?
Yes, you can.
Well, you want to disclose it, on the air?
I forget exactly the name of the cemetery, but if you want to text me, or I'll tell you, I'll text it out to everybody later. I'll put it in a text.
Okay.
How's that? I'll tell you exactly. And by the way, a lot of us have gone to see it, but we had WouijaCon out there in Baltimore a couple of years ago. We did everything Ouija. It was great.
All right, let's get to your personal teachings and lessons, and let's start with the sill.
The sill, that was a lesson that came out many, many years ago. This would have been 97. And so at that time, I was speaking to who I call the sun and moon, which is truly this is the consciousness of source energy that I'm in communication with now. They're ethereal beings who have never been born. And the sill is the concept of like a windowsill, and they use that as a metaphor for crossing over to a new threshold. They said life is always changing. You can always count on change. Change is a constant given to you. And there are many doors opening and closing. And are you willing to cross the threshold? Are you willing to go through the sill? Learn to love the sill is what they told me. Learn to love this space because it is truly what's going to transform you. And life is a journey of transformation. It's an alchemical journey of coming back to yourself. And the sill is a way to cross back into your spirit, your soul, to understand really the greatness of yourself.
Yeah, that's interesting. Is the sill, is it illuminated? I mean, is it bright? What if it's dark?
The sill could be whatever you imagine it to be. They were using it more as a metaphor.
Right.
But my experience has been when they talk about it, I actually visualize the light.
Right.
And I'm
That's
glad you
what I
brought
was
that up.
asking. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Like our friend John Murphy out there in New York, he'd be a dark window kind of guy. All right.
That's okay.
I'm just teasing. I'm messing with him right now on Twitter.
Maybe his windows are blacked out. You never know.
Yeah, he goes, dude,
he's got a film on him.
He goes, it's not New York, it's New Hampshire. And I said, yeah, but it's your New York attitude that shines through. Okay. Heart and soul.
Yes, heart and soul. So they talk a lot about the heart is basically your portal. It is the place within you that you can maneuver and connect to these other energies. It's through your heart. Okay, so this is what they say, and this is what they've told me more recently. They talked about life starts with light. And there's actually a spark that happens when your heart starts working, but the heart starts beating at the spark of birth. And also we all know that your brain can be dead, but you will still be alive if your heart is alive. So the heart is truly like the little brain, and they've found in science and studies that the heart actually has little transmitters like a brain would have, and it actually perceives before the brain does. And so I've got all the research now to back it up, but back then they just always talked to me about the heart being the portal to your soul, being the portal to these other realms, and to really respect and cherish and nurture your heart, literally physically take care of your heart, but also see that as that space within you that you can connect to your higher self. You can connect to the guides. You can connect to the angels. You connect to source wisdom. It is that place within you where they will come, the energies will come and communicate with you, and you will feel it. It's really a feeling center. In fact, this is when they gave me my breathing exercise, which is called hips to heart, and it's connecting the heart center with the sacrum, the hips part, because what they said was the female's gravity center of her being is more in her hips, where the male's is more in her chest, where the heart is. And you connect this positive and negative flow, masculine and feminine flow. I get into that really more in the Spirit of Alchemy book, which we didn't cover tonight. But it talks about how these two areas are connected, and that's how you ground yourself and also how you open up your heart to do this work.
It's the Greenmount Cemetery.
There you go. In Baltimore. Thank you for
in Baltimore. I got the whole address. You got to love Twitter. You got to love this audience.
You just look this stuff up. Google's wonderful.
Man, the Fadernauts don't play around. Jimmy,
Good.
You want it? Here it is. Bam. Okay.
Go, everybody go. Get your photos. It's really It's really fascinating and fabulous.
Inside.
So what they had always told me was that you use this board when I first started out thinking you're going to get answers, you're going to get the lottery numbers like you said, or you're going to get things answered, your questions. And they said, no, we're going to help you. You're going to use this tool, reach out to us, but we're going to help you realize and come to understand that all answers are within you. And by using a tool or communicating with us, you're actually going deeper within yourself to the possibilities that you could even have these phenomenal communications, and that we're going to guide you back to yourself to find your own answers. The answers are always within. And if there's one major lesson I've learned about this is that we hold within ourselves all the answers to the universe. In fact, true channeling, when you bring in these energies, which you can call it, using a board is a form of channeling or voice channeling. I did a little bit of that earlier when you asked for a message. Truly what that is getting out of the way of yourself and allowing inspiration to flow through you. And it's done through the heart, but it comes from out of your inside. By knowing who you are within, you can allow this wonderful energy to flow into you and out through you.
And what can you say to those out there that I've already got an email tonight, and I've seen some of the tweets come through. One of the questions that I asked, I'm sure that you saw it, was who here has a Ouija board, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there was a couple of, I'm not letting the demons in.
Right.
And I get that. What's the message that you want to give to those that insist that it is, purely negative and they don't want that kind of stuff in their house?
Well, I would say don't have that stuff in your house if it conjures up anything like that for you. The truth is it's neutral. The board has nothing to do with anything. I'd worry about the people you hang out with or the people you invite into your house. That's where the true energy comes from. We are transmitters. We are receivers. That is what we're electromagnetic energy. That is what we're doing. We're giving off energy, light, and we're receiving it at all times. So it's not the board. Get rid of the board. Throw the board out if you don't like it. It's yourself. And if you think anything negative has happened, really look at look back at ourselves first. What am I thinking? What is my unconscious thoughts? What am I conjuring or creating here? What was that I intend? What do I want? Also look at, who am I allowing into my life? What energies am I messing with? What energies am I allowing in? So it's not the board. I think that's the most important thing to do, to tell you guys. And also to never give your power away to a tool, because that's really all it is. As I said, I can do this without the board now, and I've finally have come to the realization of that, and that it's really about me. I'm the tuning device here that allows this to happen. And if you're very fearful, again, this is not for everybody. I would never push that on anybody, and I also respect everybody's beliefs about it, because again, what you believe is what you're going to receive and what you're going to get in life, and it's really based on your intentions. But if for a moment you could suspend any judgment and just maybe hear the stories and then do your own research on it, it'll just give you another possibility for expression of this unseen energies.
I want to thank you for just one of the best shows that, they always say, what's your favorite show? Well, it was the last one. But certainly tonight was one of those moments for me personally, and I know that the Fadernauts thoroughly enjoyed it. What is the best way for everybody to get out and get in touch with you?
Great. Well, listen, Jimmy, thank you so much for having me on the show. It was great meeting you at the Conscious Life Expo, and I really enjoyed my time here with the Fadernauts. And I couldn't keep up with the Twitter, but I will look at everything later, you guys. You can find me at creativevisionspublications.com, and I'll make it easy for you. KarenADahlman.com. I've got all kinds of wonderful blogs on there about the talking board, spirituality, well-being. I write about many subjects that help you uncover and release the greatest self within. I also have books. I have a newsletter. You can join me. Many people join me on Twitter. Thank you so much. Facebook. I'm also on Google Plus, Instagram. I'm all over the place on the internet. So yeah, come join me. Come join my newsletter. You're very welcome, and it's just a pleasure to be here with all of you all tonight. Thank you so much for having me, Jimmy, and the Fadernauts.
I can't wait till we do the live session, and I'm just letting you know we are going to do it. I want to. You've convinced me. You've taken the darkness out of it. But you need to have. I need to have a professional in the room.
And I am that, and we will bring that to you. We would be more than happy to do this for you. That's on the behalf of the guides and also my partner.
Thank you so much, Karen. Be safe out there and have some great dreams tonight. Thank you so much.
Good night.
Karen Dahlman, everybody. Again, creativevisionspublications.com. Link to it is over at jimmychurchradio.com. Of course, you can follow her on Twitter, Karen A. Dahlman, Facebook. Everything is out there. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I'll be right back with all the news that you know nothing about. Thank you, Karen Dahlman. Amazing show. I'll be right back.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Tepe.
Hi, folks. In a world of GMO, genetically modified organisms, that is, chemicals, processed foods, and a healthcare system that's unraveling like a cheap suit, it's time to prepare. God created herbs, and herbs help man. Our body can heal itself, just sometimes we need assistance. You need some help? GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. Our mild detox is quite powerful with its unique blend of 8 different herbs. And if you're looking for more, our non-GMO supplements will help you with different needs you might have. Health should be a top priority. Take care of your health naturally. Log on to GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. Give your body a treat. Let the herbs do their thing naturally. Read all the testimonies on the website, GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. Sickness and viruses are like intruders, and herbs are like warriors. Let the tea work for you. That's GetTheTea.com.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Hi, this is Chase Klutsky with Fate Magazine Radio, and you're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station, where the Fade or Nots rock.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Combat, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right. Welcome back. Thank you, Karen. Karen Dahlman, great show. Her book, The Spirits of Ouija, is available over on her website and, of course, Amazon. You know, it kind of takes some of the mystery out of it. You know, you go, like I was saying earlier, you jump on YouTube and you go and you watch all of these sensational Ouija sessions and Zoso and so forth. But okay. All right, we'll do a live session. We'll do one right here. Run some video. See what happens. Oh, man. All right. Thank you so much, Karen. Great show. All right. Malaysian authorities want to speak with a North Korean embassy official and airline employee as part of their investigation into the murder of Kim Jong-nam. You know, North Korea's Kim Jong-un, Fatty Fat's brother, half-brother. The two are being sought. Their names are Hyeon Kwang-song, who worked at the North Korean embassy in Malaysia, and Kim Uk-il, a staff member of the North Korean carrier Air Koryo. Both are still in Malaysia. Kim Jong-nam died last Monday after a suspected poisoning while trying to catch a flight from Kuala Lumpur to Macau. Also, security has been increased at the morgue where his body is being held because yesterday they had an attempted break-in. No word if the attempted break-inners were North Korean. More news on this to follow. Well, police now say that gunmen have kidnapped 2 Germans from a village in northern Nigeria. Now, check this out. The Kaduna Police Command confirmed that gunmen took archaeologist Peter Brunig and his associate Johannes Beringer from a village in Kaduna State on Wednesday morning. Police are working with villagers to try and rescue them. They are said to be part of a 4-person team from a university in Frankfurt that were collaborating with Nigeria's National Commission for the Museum and Monuments. You can't even be an archaeologist these days, right? Kidnapped. Unbelievable. Well, check this out. Oh, I just could not wait for this moment tonight on the show to share this with you. Power and Robotics, a firm called ABB, announced today that it had uncovered a sophisticated criminal scheme at its South Korean unit. Now, please hear every word that I'm about to say. It only noticed huge sums of money that had been stolen. They only noticed it after an employee of the subsidiary disappeared about 2 weeks ago. That's right. The employee, who has not been identified yet, is suspected of forging documents and working with individuals outside of the company to steal money. Lots of it. The embezzlement, listen to this, of funds is limited only to South Korea, where ABB employees staff about 800, right? But they're now saying that other people could still come under the investigation. Now, the employee is missing, gone for 2 weeks. How much did the missing employee take with him? $100 million. $100 million. And didn't get caught. Unbelievable. They said that it is so sophisticated that they don't even want to talk about it. Dude pulled it off. $100 million. Gone. Now, SpaceX launched their Dragon cargo ship last week, and it was packed with nearly 3 tons of supplies. And the Dragon is unpiloted. It is a robotic ship, and it needed to, take a few trips around the Earth so it could catch up to the International Space Station earlier today and dock. Well, it didn't. Software glitch. And apparently the software glitch was in its GPS. And some things you just can't make up. So they had to abort. It aborted its rendezvous. Now, no word yet. Now, they were saying that the crew, nobody was in danger, everything was fine. But when you hear that, that says to me it wasn't fine. And they had to pull back the robotic arm and let the ship go. So the Dragon is now orbiting the Earth again, and they are going to attempt to fix the software glitch in the GPS. Now, I guess what they almost had was an accident, and they almost broke the robotic arm. They had to pull everything back, stop. Now, there are 3 tons of supplies on this ship. And not only that, on the Dragon, but not only that, they need to fill it up. And this is the other thing. They got to fill it up with garbage. That's right. They got to help the landlady out with her garbage. Well, they're going to try to do this again for tomorrow, and it will be Thursday afternoon. Hopefully on tomorrow's show, I will have nothing but good news to report. We do need the Dragon to fix its GPS. All right. I want to thank Karen Dahlman. An amazing show tonight. I was looking forward to not only a full show about Ouija, but I needed the facts. I needed questions answered. I needed all of you to get everything out there for us to clear this up. Too many times, like I said earlier today before I let you go, I really mean this. The pink Barbie, I think it was Barbie. I don't mean to, slag on Barbie. But the pink Ouija board, right, at Toys R Us, to me, just didn't seem like a good idea. And my daughters didn't get one. It went back on the shelf, right? So maybe next time I'll think a little bit more differently about all of this. And I thank Karen Dahlman for that. This has been Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Fade to Black's executive producer is Rita Kamarian. Show's produced by Hilton J. Paul, Mark D. Kovar, LJ3, Renee Jonas. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vito, and Mark D. Kovar. Fadey by Dale. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy. SpaceboyMusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. Syndication is KGRA, The Planet. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2017 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tomorrow night is Fader Night. John Rappaport right here with his No More Fake Newsroom live. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Follow Karen Dahlman, Karen A. Dahlman on Twitter. Until tomorrow night, everybody be safe. Go Beckley Teppy.